I was going to say, he was pretty angry. Much more convincing.
I thought Ian McKellen was spectacular.
He's good as Gandalf. That's about it.
He was incredible as Gandalf. I loved him as Magneto.
The only show that can give you not just a full entire breakdown of the Major League Baseball opening day schedule, happening Major League Baseball opening day. Not just a full rundown and prediction on all 8 Sweet 16 games. Happy Sweet 16 Thursday. Not just a rundown on Alex Ovechkin's quest for Wayne Gretzky's goal. The fact that LeBron James has more double-doubles since turning 39 than Allen Iverson did in his entire career. But also the show that can, and probably will, go in depth on the intricacies and the adaptations of Magneto as played by both Fassbender and McKellen, and do so with depth, integrity, and intelligence that you'll find nowhere else. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate. Great to have you. I am Rob Brown. That young man on the other side of the glass, my co-host, the great one, Lonzo. Both of us with you for the 4 most electrifying hours in sports, talk, entertainment. Happy Thursday, my dudes and dudettes. Spectacular to have you. Hello, Lonzo.
Hello, you forgot to mention anger, because I think we're on the edge of anger on our little argument. But
No, I'm not. I'm not.
no,
because
I was talking about you. I wasn't talking about me.
not at all. I just said I'm not. I'm very much not. We were having a discussion.
Yeah,
and debate.
usually, I'm not mad, is the person that's mad. That's usually how that
No,
works.
Okay, then how does one say?
No, when you have an argument with someone and you say, why are you being angry? The person who says I'm not angry is usually yelling that they're not angry.
No, I feel like the person who says, why are you mad, as opposed to, are you mad, is trying to create a narrative. My question, or my question for you then becomes, how do I express to you?
So when you argue with your wife, if you say that, you're trying to create a narrative?
If I am to, in the midst of a discussion, heated or otherwise,
Hey, everyone argues. I mean,
look at my wife and say, why are you mad right now? Then she will be mad. What I do say as a wonderful Class A communicator is, are you upset? And if so, did I cause it? That's how you handle the situation.
All right,
Not
so-
go, you're mad, bro.
So
you're
that's
mad, bro.
that's probably a dumb question, because if you're saying, are you upset, that means you know they're upset.
Not necessarily.
I think that's worse.
Some people are just intense. See, I think that's
that's saying, well, I don't really recognize that you might be emotional
no,
right
see,
now.
I think I'm going to say this lovingly. You more than anyone else I know have this thing that you do where you just assume like this is how I am and therefore this is how everyone is.
Dude,
and that's not true.
That's funny coming from you.
That's not true.
Because that's what you do on everything.
I don't think it is.
When you say we, and you're talking for the collective we, like everyone thinks the way you do. Listen, I don't think there's anyone on the radio who doesn't think that everyone thinks the way they do.
No. There is a difference between I am right and I am dedicated to the concept of the discussion and the viewpoint that I hold.
Please continue, knower of ball.
Versus, I do know ball. That is correct. Thank you.
The pointing out of people who don't.
I mean, when people don't know ball, they don't know ball. That's just objective.
Yeah, I just killed the argument.
No, you didn't. The discussion that we were having before we came on the air was Fassbender v. McKellen. Which Magneto do you prefer? Because yesterday, Marvel put out a live stream that they got everybody hyped for, and the live stream was effectively them adding chairs to a stage with the actors who will be appearing in the Avengers Doomsday movie, which we already know, of course, Robert Downey Jr. will be returning, but not as Tony Stark, as Victor Von Doom. This is a very nerdy discussion. You're going to have to stick with me. And one of the things that was most exciting about that stream was that chairs with the names of the OG X-Men actors were up there. Scott Marsden, who, of course, played Cyclops, et cetera, et cetera. And when they got to the X-Men chairs, Ian McKellen's name was there, who, of course, played old Magneto in the old round of X-Men movies and is my favorite Magneto because I like old, angry, over at Magneto, Lonzo prefers Michael Fassbender, who played the younger Magneto in the X-Men Origin series of movies, who I also thought did a fantastic job. But I just like the old angry Magneto, not the younger, more energetic Magneto. It's just a subjective preference from me, and because I have that preference, apparently I'm mad. That's where we are. We're having a married couple fight.
No,
is what we're doing.
I never said you were mad.
Also, I just looked at the text line.
I just said angry.
You literally okay?
Yeah, but
those are different words, obviously.
Yeah, well, I wasn't saying
mad.
that you were angry. I just said also angry.
Then you said.
By the way,
that seems like you.
I was just joking, but why you mad, bro?
There it is. I'm going through the text line as I always do. It's one of the things that I do as we start the show. Is I look through the text from the day before because, hey, look, you guys might have had a wonderful conversation on Wire to Wire the night before I missed.
You might have.
A conversation that I missed. There were wonderful conversations on Wire to Wire every day.
Thank you.
But you may have had one yesterday that I missed. And I like to go look and see what was getting texted in. What are people talking about? Like, for instance, the last text was shout out to Wofford Baseball, who upset top 25 Troy in Alabama last night. Good win. We are going to talk some baseball, both because Clemson got back on the W side of things with a 9-1 win over the Presbyterian Blue Hose last night. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk, obviously, Major League Baseball opening day because at 3 p.m., we have a round of games starting up that go all the way till the final first pitch of the day at 10 p.m. tonight. Yes, indeed, your boy will be parked in front of the big screen all day long today. And we will be talking some MLB later on in the radio broadcast. But one of the last texts that was sent into the show last night was from friend of, and I dare say, enormous fan of the show, Dewey, who texted us to compliment how wonderful of a job we are doing all the time. And he said...
Thanks, Dewey.
Phenomenal guy. We love Dewey. And Dewey loves us. And that's my favorite thing is that Dewey texts every morning. He's like, you guys are doing an amazing job.
One of us does.
He texted the show to end the show and said, I raw dog all the time. So I don't know if it's because of the conversation we had yesterday about what's his face, Patrick Warburton.
Is it Wire to Wire after dark?
I guess.
Is that what's going on?
I hope not because we had the same conversation.
Yeah, but I thought that show was more wholesome and more, family friendly.
Yeah, we're the immature, sophomoric people for sure.
Well, one of us is, and then you're here.
We got a show lined up today, people. We got a lot to get into on the radio program over the next 3 hours and 52 minutes of broadcast excellence. As mentioned, we do have Major League Baseball's opening day today. The Atlanta Braves taking to the diamond for the very first time this year just after 4 p.m. Chris Sale going to the bump to take on Michael King and the San Diego Padres. And listen, you're not going to sit here and say, the opening day game is a big game. But it is a big game. And it's a big game, and I'll tell you why. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week when we did our Braves season preview. And I said this on Tuesday when I was sitting in on BetMGM Tonight. Said it on this show the same day. The Braves are a team holding a lottery ticket. The Braves are a team with a Powerball ticket in hand. If they punched all these numbers in, and they got the numbers right. And the reality is, it is way less likely that they did not than that they did. But if they punched in all the numbers right, and they are right about all the guys that they have in the 1 through 9 today. Jurickson Profar, 31 years old, had a career year last year, but he had his career year at 31. Is that an anomaly? Is he worth a 3-year, $42 million deal? Ronald Acuna Jr. coming back off the ACL. He was the reigning defending MLB NL MVP a couple of years ago. The next year, he has his second career-altering ACL injury. Now, he's not playing today. He's going to be out a few more weeks as he continues to rest and rehab and get back to hopefully 100%. If he does get to 100%, can he be the guy that is an NL MVP candidate again? Off the bump, They decide to they don't decide to let. Max Fried decides to leave and go up to New York. Chris Sale elevated to the number 1 role as we continue to wait for Spencer Strider to make his return. Strider did pitch in spring training, by the way. In fact, his last outing of spring training, K'd 6 through 4 innings, I believe. So, it looks good, but the Braves aren't going to rush him, obviously, because if Spencer Strider goes down again, which was the beginning of the end for Atlanta last year, the Bravos are in trouble. They don't have the depth unless they're going to make a big trade deadline move, which I think they're going to do anyway, but we'll talk about that later. Spencer Strider's got to be right. Austin Riley has got to be right. Last year, Marcell Ozuna in the DH spot had kind of a career resurgence after kind of slowing down a little bit. Is he going to continue that momentum? Can Matty Ice Baby, who stank Matt Olson for 99 games last year before turning it on in the second half of the season, can he just be that guy all year long? There are all these things that have to go right for Atlanta. And if the Powerball lottery numbers hit and all of those things go right, I genuinely believe that the Braves are one of 4 teams that can win the National League. The Dodgers, obviously, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Atlanta Braves, and the San Diego Padres. Now, there's a couple of wild cards out there. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to be back and good this year. They have an 86.5 over-under win total. They won 89 last year. That's more than 86. I don't think they got worse. They had Corbin Burns for a little bullpen depth. I think they got better. Not dramatically, but I think they got win 90 games good. So I think they're in the mix. I think the San Francisco Giants could be in the mix in the National League. But I think there are really 4 teams that can win the National League. The Dodgers, the Giants, the Padres, the Braves, and the Phillies are the 4 teams I think can win the NL. Phillies I got questioned about because this is the first year that I've looked at Philly and been like, they might be aging out of contention. Obviously, you age a little slower in baseball than you do in the NFL, the NBA, NHL, whatever. But we are at the point now where Bryce Harper's well on the wrong side of 30 years of age. Guys like Ranger Suarez, who have had really good years the last couple of years, aren't, they're not young anymore. So I get worried about the Phillies. The Braves aren't an old team. There are guys that are older, Matt Olson, Marcell Ozuna, etc., but they're not an old team. The problem is everybody on the diamond, with a very few limited exceptions, there are question marks about them. And so I consider the Braves a team holding a lottery ticket. If everything goes right and they picked all the right numbers, the Braves could absolutely represent the National League in the World Series. Again, still think it's going to be the Dodgers. The Dodgers are like even money to win the NL and like plus 150, I think, to win the World Series. That's dumb. That's a dumb number. That's a dumb number. No team in the history of me watching baseball and following gambling odds has ever been that short of a favorite to win the World Series. Not the division. I've seen a lot of teams that have been like plus 120 to win the division, like Atlanta a couple of years ago. But to win the World Series is a ridiculous number. I think the Braves can be in the back pocket of the Dodgers, but I think that's only if that Powerball ticket hits. That's only if Acuna's good, Ozzie Albies is good, Austin Riley is good, Chris Sale can run it back. Jurickson Profar was not an anomaly, but it actually is that good, what he did last year in San Diego. There's all these ifs. This is a team built on ifs. The Dodgers are not built on ifs. You know what the Dodgers are going to be. I don't think that the Padres are an if. That's a young team that had consistent play last year. I don't think that they're 100 wins good. I think they're 92, 93 wins good. But it's not ifs. If everything goes right for the Braves, if everything goes right for the Braves, I think they're a 99, maybe 100 win team. I think they are probably the second best team in the National League if they're healthy, if all the things hit. But if they miss on 2 or 3, if Acuna Jr. is not the same guy, if Profar looks more like the guy that got cut by the Rockies than the guy that had the career resurgence last year, they're down the tubes. If Marcell Ozuna reverts back to a guy who has problems putting the ball on the bat with power, they revert. If Matt Olson has another 100-game stretch of playing bad baseball, they're cooked. They're in trouble. So that is, to me, and I've done this on a couple of shows and a couple of stations over the past couple of weeks, that is, to me, the biggest issue that you have. There's just a bleep load of ifs for Atlanta. And if they get all the ifs right, they'll be in the NLCS across from the LA Dodgers. It'll be an uphill battle in that 7-game series, but it is winnable. If just 3 or 4 of the ifs go wrong, it's going to be a very long season for the Atlanta Braves. It's going to be another disappointing season for the Atlanta Braves. And on top of that, it'll probably be time to rebuild and retool because those ifs aren't going to go away at the end of the year. They will be the same ifs that the Braves bring onto the field next year. So, to me, the Atlanta Braves are a team with a lottery ticket. If they got the numbers right, they are absolutely in line for the grand prize. But if they got more than a handful of them, more of a couple, if they got more than a couple of the ifs wrong, then they're cooked. So we're going to talk some baseball a little bit later on in the radio broadcast. We have got some NFL news and notes. Yesterday, Zoe and I were talking about this before we came on the air. I don't know what I expected out of this 60-minute sit-down of LeBron James on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. I know what I expected. I expected Pat McAfee, of whomst I am a fan, to just be a frat boy and have some fun with LBJ. And we did get that. But there were 3 or 4 moments out of that sit-down interview yesterday that were kind of interesting. One of which I genuinely believe probably had Adam Silver and the ghost of David Stern freaking out. Because LeBron said something about the NBA draft that the NBA has been accused of for many, many years, but nobody's ever really been able to prove it. And the folks accusing the NBA of doing so have largely been outside of the NBA. Yesterday, the most famous athlete in American sports, whether you like him or not, the most recognizable athlete in American sports globally yesterday kind of tiptoed through those daisies a little bit. And I got to imagine the NBA front office got thrown into chaos yesterday when he did. So we're going to address that as well as some other interesting comments that came out of that interview. As we mentioned, college basketball. I went yesterday and I looked at the bracket, not the bracket challenge, just my bracket in general, just the bracket in general. And this isn't going to be why I give you the winners and the losers that I'm going to pick in the Sweet 16 tonight and tomorrow. But there are some really interesting possible matchups that could happen in the Elite Eight, in the Final Four, and in the national championship game. There are some I really want to see. We could theoretically see, though it would destroy my bracket if it happens, we could see a Final Four matchup of Michigan State. You telling me you're doing anything but taking every minute of that game in the Final Four in? We could end up in a situation where we have an Arkansas, John Calvi, Florida Final Four game with a couple of wins. We could end up in a situation where we have an all-SEC Final Four. If you get Auburn from the top, Florida or Arkansas from the bottom left, Kentucky or Tennessee from the bottom right, Alabama from the top right, we could have an all-SEC Final Four. I think that would be interesting. And in a weird way, although it is not, well, one of the two teams I picked to the finals, would there be anything, and I'm kind of rooting for this, I really am, would an Iron Bowl basketball national championship not be the most compelling thing that could possibly happen? Like, sure.
No, it would not be the most compelling thing. It would be compelling to the South, but not compelling to everybody. Just like Michigan State would be compelling for the North, but not for everybody.
See, I disagree. Oh, okay, I'm not going to disagree on behalf of everybody because I don't speak for everybody. Okay? I made that clear. What I will say is a great rivalry is a great rivalry. To me, one of the things that makes a great rivalry is that it is respected, admired, participated in maybe to some degree by people who have no connection to it. I have no connection to Michigan, no connection to Michigan State. I would love to see a Michigan State Final Four game.
You kind of have a connection to Michigan now.
Well, okay. You know what I mean. No, I mean, I really don't. I have a connection to a guy who hates Michigan.
No.
Yeah.
That other guy.
Okay, got it. I would love to see that. I have nothing to do with that Big Ten rivalry. I would love to see that. I would love to see. I have no connection other than I worked covering the two schools. I have no connection to Auburn, Alabama. I would love to see. Do you understand how incredibly entertaining the internet gets if Auburn, Alabama meet up in the title game?
Well, you do know,
unbelievable.
You do know you're good friends with an Auburn guy. So you do kind of have connection.
Other people's connections are not my connection. Do I have fans?
Why not? That's how the world works.
Do I have friends who are fans of one or more of these schools? Absolutely. I don't have an Auburn, Alabama connection, Michigan State connection, Duke connection, Florida. I do have a lot of Florida connections, friends, but I don't have a Florida connection outside of I cover the school. There are some really interesting matchups, and we're going to get to those later in the show.
Pull for Florida?
Yeah, I don't have a connection to Florida.
Okay, all right.
At all. I don't want to see him happy. Are you kidding me? Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday. Let's get weird. It's the Fan Upstate.
I don't.
Yeah, I got it. Be right back, guys. Stay right there. Okay, sorry, we had to check the thermometer. 75. Hey, Rob, what is the trapezoid of excellence, and is it legit? It is legit. The trapezoid of excellence is a college basketball theory that at the end of the season, at the top of a graph that is a net rating between your offensive and defensive combined net rating and your pace of play. At the top, there is if you follow this, I do. I love it. I check it every year. At the top, you put teams on this graph based on the net rating offense, defense, and their pace of play in a game. And it'll be somewhere on the XY axis. And at the top, there's a trapezoid. And if you're in that trapezoid, you have an elevated chance of making the Sweet 16 Elite Eight. The teams that are in the trapezoid of excellence this year, because I just pulled it up to tell you who's in there. Houston, still alive. Tennessee, still alive. Duke, still alive. Auburn, still alive. Florida, still alive. Gonzaga, Maryland, Missouri, Arizona, Texas Tech, and St. Mary's. All of those teams made the tournament. The teams that are still alive outside of the tournament, outside of the trapezoid, Alabama is outside of it. Kentucky is outside of it. Everybody else is in that trapezoid. Clemson, not in the trapezoid of excellence. Purdue, not in the trapezoid of excellence.
I'm a winner. I know how to win.
You know what? I'm going to talk about this because I like it. Because I like it.
God.
You can all thank Kane for what is about to happen. Because I adore it so much. Kane asked during the break, what is the trapezoid of excellence and is it legit? Now, if you're not watching our live stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate, the Fan Upstate on X, the Fan Upstate on YouTube, the Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch, because we are young, hip, and with it, as the kids say. I have pulled up this year's trapezoid of excellence graph. Now, the trapezoid of excellence is a XY axis graph.
Rob, could you describe a trapezoid for those young listeners who have not made it to trigonometry or geometry?
I'd be more than happy to. A trapezoid is a square that's not a square. It's a square where, like, two of the sides are angled differently. It is a quadrilateral. Let me give you the exact definition. A quadrilateral with exactly one pair of parallel sides, often called the bases, while the other two sides are called legs. So you can have them, two sides are going to be parallel, the other two are going to go in different directions. So in the trapezoid of excellence in college basketball, it takes your net rating adjusted for your opponents. So it takes your strength of schedule into consideration, and then it takes your performance against your strength of schedule, and it puts it somewhere on an up and down y-axis. And then it takes your pace of play. That is to say, compared to your success level against your strength of schedule, how good are you? How fast do you get up and down the floor, and how efficient are you with the basketball when you do? I have pulled up the trapezoid of excellence, here on the stream. And if you look at the trapezoid of excellence, what you will find out is that the nerds can help you out dramatically. The nerds can show you teams that give you an elevated chance to get it right. And here's a couple that if you're
All right, really quick, I don't understand this picture that you're showing. Why is the trapezoid? Why are those teams up there at the top and everybody else is in the middle?
So the trapezoid of excellence, when you look at the teams at the top of the graph, the y-axis, the up and down, those are the teams that are just good. That's your net rating adjusted for opponent. So they take your strength of schedule, how good was your in and out of conference games, and how well did you perform against them. More quad one wins are going to move you up on that graph. That is why Auburn, Tennessee, Duke, Florida, Houston are all up towards the top of that graph, because they had either great strength of schedule and good success against it, or great success against an average schedule, or some combination of both. The x-axis, the left to right, that is the pace of games. That is how much are you in control. That is time of possession. That is offensive efficiency. That is, in those games, how much control of the games did you have? How fast were the games? Which is why, over on the left-hand side of the screen, you see Drake, a team that did win a first-round game against Mizzou. Why did they beat Mizzou? Because Mizzou, who is just on the outside of the trapezoid of excellence, Mizzou allowed Drake to control that game. We talked about this on Friday. Mizzou allowed Drake to control the pace of that game. Drake slowed that game down to a pace that took Mizzou's offensive firepower away from them. So when you look at said trapezoid of excellence, and again, if you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about and you don't know it, go to our live stream right now, facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, The Fan Upstate on YouTube, The Fan Upstate on X, The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. And what you will see when you look at the trapezoid of excellence is that inside of said trapezoid of excellence, good job on this subject, Kane, I'm very proud of you, you will find the Houston Cougars, a 1 seed.
I'm the opposite of proud. Thanks, Kane.
I mean, again, I don't know about you. I like every available bit of data.
Yeah.
That's how I know ball.
I mean, I have the chance to prove what is proven almost every year, that someone can go and fill out a bracket in just a couple minutes and beat all the people who look at trapezoids and quad ones and all the in-depth stuff, and those people get really angry when they don't win. How often does all this research result in the winner of the tournament?
Well, let's take a look at this year and see how it's stacking up so far. Inside of the trapezoid of excellence, Houston, still alive. St. Mary's ran up against the team inside this trapezoid of excellence. Tennessee, still alive. Duke, a 1 seed. Texas Tech, still alive and a favorite over a non-trapezoid of excellence team this year. Auburn, number 1 overall seed. Florida, still alive. Gonzaga, bounced by a trapezoid of excellence team. Maryland, still alive. Arizona, still alive. Right on the borderline of the trapezoid of excellence, Mizzou, bounced. St. John's, bounced. Purdue, still alive. Just on the outside of the trapezoid of excellence, the Clemson Tigers, bounced. The UConn Huskies, bounced. BYU, still alive. Georgia, just outside the border, bounced. Kentucky, still alive. Illinois, bounced, but bounced very late, bounced in the second round, and bounced by a trapezoid of excellence team. There are a couple of exceptions. Alabama is inside of the trapezoid of excellence in terms of net rating. They are high enough in their net rating to be inside of the trapezoid, but they have the highest pace of play. And this makes sense because, again, I've said what about every Alabama game so far? It's a race to 90 with Alabama. This is a track meet style team. It is a race to 90. The teams that are able to either A, slow Alabama down, or B, give enough of a defensive front that Bama misses shots, their shot efficiency comes down, beat Alabama, like Auburn did in the regular season, like Auburn failed to do in the final week of the season when Bama stole that dub and had everybody asking questions about the War Eagle Tigers coming into the tournament. Bama is high enough in the net rating to be in the trapezoid, but they have such a frantic pace of play. And the reason that the trapezoid exists with the borders that it has, where the pace of play needs to be somewhere between 60 and 72, the reason why is because teams that are wildly frantic, like Alabama, they are going to have an off day where the offense is either dictated to them by another team, or the shots just aren't falling. They're getting 85 field goal attempts, but the shots aren't falling. You're more likely to fall. Illinois, New Mexico, way over on that side. Or if you bog the game down so far, the opposite end is true, which is to say you run up against the buzzsaw of a team having a great offensive day, and they just track meet you up and down. Drake, North Texas, who missed out, Virginia, those teams. The teams that are in the middle, the teams that can play balanced. We can get up and down the court when we need to. We can also slap the hardwood, play defense, slow the game down if we need to. Those are the teams that traditionally have success. So when you look at said trapezoid of excellence, God, I love this stuff so much. When you look at the numbers, the teams in the trapezoid are Houston alive, Tennessee alive, Duke alive, Texas Tech alive, Auburn alive, Florida alive, Maryland alive, Arizona alive, Mizzou bounced, St. Mary's bounced, Gonzaga bounced, all of them in the second round of the tournament, and all 2 trapezoid teams. So to answer your question, it is absolutely a thing. Data, numbers tell you a lot about the sport you are following, and this is just truth. This is just truth. All right, let's take a break. Let's talk some Sweet 16 ball when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Thank you, Kane. Thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Wow.
That made me happy. Tanner Bibby. Turnover. Did not.
It's kind of a push anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I felt it as soon as I let it go. That one should be good. It was. It just didn't go all the way up the ramp. For those of you that said, why do I keep saying that? It's because in the middle of our little ball returner thing over there in the corner, the ball return ramp is on this side. And then the put it up the ramp is on the other side, and there's a little fin that sticks up in between the two of them. And so if you hit that little fin, it won't go up the ramp. Now the ramp itself is slightly larger than the width of a cup. So if you can get it up the ramp like that, you've made the putt in real life. Or at least rimmed out at the worst.
What happened there? I mean,
It made it, and it went into the little ball return, and then the ball return just went, and just like.
Well, I heard it. It sounded like it tried to return twice or something.
You know how like sometimes when you feel like you really got to pee, and then you go to pee, and it just like drizzles out? It was like that, but a golf ball.
Okay, that's a
You know what I'm
weird,
talking
that's
about.
a weird
Don't pretend you don't know what I'm
description.
talking- but you know what I'm
No.
talking about.
No, I think everyone does, but still, it's.
I'm not saying it's not a weird description. I'm saying you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, it's not going to have the speed. Oh, it was wide anyway. Damn. 4 for 6. Pushed it the same putt. Man. That's one where if I'm on the golf course, I go, well, at least I'm consistent.
Rob has the yips. He won't make another one all day.
Oh, I'm in my head now. 7 putts, I'm in my head for sure. God, I like being a nerd. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's enjoyable. It makes me feel good. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. We are inside the trapezoid of excellence of radio shows. Rob, the Great Lonzo, and you. Want to be a part of the show? Of course you do, and I'm glad you do. 844-326-3663. That is the number to the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line, 844-326-3663. Before we go any further, I believe we talked about it yesterday around this time, so I will update all of you. I sat by the phone over there waiting for Rico Dowdle yesterday. I got a phone call just before we were set to record saying we feel awful about this, but Rico got caught up in some stuff. Can we do it tomorrow? To which I said, sure. Not a problem. Understand the man is an RB1 on an NFL football team. He's going to be busy. I get it. So the jinx is real, even if it is a repeat jinx. The jinx is real. I'm going to try it again today, even if it does mean that, because I love you people, because I do it for you, because I am a man of a man of the people.
He's a man of the people.
I'm going to go home, let my dogs out, grab my lunch, and then come back up here to interview Rico Dowdle at 1 o'clock. And fingers crossed, we will have that interview for you tomorrow on the show. I'm very much looking forward to talking to a former South Carolina Gamecock kid right up out of Asheville, Georgia, A.C. Reynolds High School. Asheville, North Carolina. Why did I say Georgia? Asheville, because I got Atlanta Braves on the brain. Asheville, North Carolina. Played his high school ball at A.C. Reynolds. Went on to South Carolina, number 15 on the overall all-time rushing list for the Gamecocks. Ends up in UDFA with the Dallas Cowboys back in 2020. was there up until this past year where he was elevated to RB1 after spending a few years in the backup running back role behind initially Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard. Pollard gets sent to Tennessee. Rico Dowdle elevated to RB1, had a very good year, over 1,000 yards last year. I said yesterday 5 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns on the season for Rico Dowdle, and now signed to a contract with his hometown almost Carolina Panthers. Going to get that RB1 role today. So we will today, fingers crossed, be doing an interview with Rico Dowdle at 1 o'clock, and we will have that for you tomorrow on the show. Quite interested in hearing with it. This guy's got an interesting story because this man has, and I am going to ask him about this, this man has had enough injuries that it would have made sense that he played a year or two at the NFL, made the money, and called it a career. He's had ankle injuries. He's had knee injuries. He's had groin injuries. He's had a sports hernia. He's had a bunch of stuff. And yet, he just keeps coming back, which makes sense. UDFA to the Cowboys in 2020, one of 10 total rookies to make the opening day roster for the Cowboys, and then never came off of it as an undrafted free agent. Now, a starter in the NFL, as he will likely be the RB1 opening day for the Carolina Panthers in the fall. This cat, and this dates back to college, this cat could have reasonably and understandably quit football multiple times through the injuries and just keeps on going, man. Just keeps on going. And it's fantastic. So fingers crossed, we'll talk to Rico Dowdle today at 1 o'clock, and I'll have that interview for you tomorrow on the show. I will tell you we do have a stacked, racked, locked, and loaded program for you today because, first and foremost, the lovely Lulu Kesin will join us at 8 o'clock. We'll talk a little South Carolina Gamecock basketball and baseball because Lulu follows the baseball team as well. The Gamecock women's basketball team. Sweet 16 action tomorrow down in Birmingham, Alabama, taking on the Mighty Turtles of Maryland, who won an electric overtime game over Alabama in the round of 32. We'll talk to Lulu at 8 o'clock. At 8:40, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast is going to join us. We'll check in with the last few things that have happened since the last time we talked to Rashad last week on the radio program, see how he's feeling about all of the news and notes, or maybe lack thereof. That's at 8:40. 9 o'clock. Hatin Ass Mario, Mario Heron from the BetMGM Network's going to join us. We'll check in with his thoughts on the most recent round of NFL signings and acquirings, as well as check in on the NBA with just a handful of weeks left until we get to the playoffs. LeBron James is still a dog. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. And, of course, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. Fight Club with the great one Lonzo, where we're going to Zoe, did you find yourself having to power rank the 117 things we need to talk about in Fight Club today? Did you find yourself having to bracket out March Madness style what was going to make the cut for the show today?
No, I was searching for things. I know you said something yesterday, and I can't remember it because old.
Old.
Yeah. No, I think we're good.
Beautiful. Love that. 920 Fight Club. We're talking MMA, boxing, and pro wrestling. Are we going to get the NCAA wrestling championship in here? Because there was a bit of a shock over there. Bit of a shock in the in the amateur wrestling world.
There was a poor choice made by a person. Yes.
There was a poor choice.
You're talking about the defeat of someone who was in the WWE and decided to go back to amateur wrestling and then lost. You talking about that guy?
You think he screwed the pooch?
Don't you?
A little bit. Not gonna say no. Not gonna say no. So we got that coming up for you at 9:20 this morning. Now, let's get some Sweet 16 college shooty hoops up in here because our round of 16 starts tonight. We've got a fistful of games on the docket. They start up at 7:09. That is when Alabama and BYU YU will match up. The Crimson Tide enter this game as 5.5-point favorites. -105 is the juice there. -230 on the money line. BYU paying out nearly 2-1, +190 for the outright win. This is the game. We talked about the trapezoid of excellence. We talked about how Alabama is like outside. They're high enough in the net rating, but they're outside the trapezoid of excellence. And the reason that they are outside the trapezoid of excellence is because their pace of play is the highest in the country. This team wants to race you to 100 points every single game.
This is one of two spots where I don't have where I'm completely whiffed on. So,
not your boy. Not your boy.
well, you are a few points ahead, so good for you.
Bama put up 90 against Robert Morris back in round one. But frantic pace of play also means that if the other team is knocking down their shots, it could get wild. 171 points scored in that game. 90-81 was your final in that one. Game number 2, a little bit more under control. A little bit more in control against the St. Mary's Gales. 80-66 was your final in that one. There were a couple of things that I think are important to note between those two games. The 90-81 shootout with the Robert Morris Colonials and the 80-66 win over a better St. Mary's team. One of them was that the defense stacked itself up. They allowed Robert Morris to knock down 42% of their shots. They allowed St. Mary's to shoot just 35% from the floor. They allowed Robert Morris to shoot 26% from three. They allowed St. Mary's just 21%. They turned the ball over a dozen times against Robert Morris. They dropped that number against St. Mary's. Against Robert Morris, they allowed the Colonials to out-rebound them 39-37. They out-rebounded St. Mary's 80-66. I am a believer, and this is obviously something that you cannot prognosticate before the tournament starts, but it is something that you can prognosticate as the tournament rolls on. I am a believer that if a good team gets scared by a less good team, that team becomes dangerous. And I believe that's Alabama right now. Alabama got a scare against Robert Morris. Alabama, against the Robert Morris Colonials, was leading at the half by 4. There was a point in time in the second half, about halfway through, where Robert Morris, the Colonials, briefly took the lead back from Alabama. And all of the sudden, that Crimson Tide offense kind of started picking up. The pace started picking up just a little bit. The pace started, they started getting up and down the floor. They started doing Alabama things, playing fast. They did that for about the first 5 minutes of the last 10 minutes of the basketball contest, and all of the sudden, they started pulling away from Robert Morris. They were up by 4 at the break. They also led by 5 at the end of the second half. In the second half, they won the game, obviously, by 9. Mark Sears had 22 points in that game, but he shot 5 of 12 from the floor. It was not his best effort. In the next game, Mark Sears shot just 5 of 15 for 12 points against St. Mary's. But something happened in that game that was very interesting. In the game against Robert Morris, there was only one other starter who had double digits. Clifford Omarui had 17. In the next game, 4 of the starters and 2 of the bench players got to double digits against St. Mary's, a dramatically better team than Robert Morris. That offense came to the recognition against Robert Morris, in my opinion, that while Mark Sears is probably the, one of the top 10 best players in college basketball this year, when you get to the tournament, you're figured out. People know who you are and what you want to do. And so what did they start to do? They said, as Robert Morris did, we're going to take Mark Sears away from you. We're going to shade our defense his direction. We're going to throw double teams at him. If he drives the paint, there's going to be a wall built there. Somebody else is going to have to answer the bell. And against Robert Morris, nobody did until late. So against the Gales, Nate Oates did what Nate Oates does. He made a couple of adjustments, and now all of a sudden, instead of game number 1, where I have a point guard shooting 4 field goals, a shooting guard shooting once from the floor, a shooting forward shooting 7 times from the floor. Now all of a sudden, listen to the shot efforts. 7, 7, 8, 5, 15. Mark Sears is still going to get his, but they started spreading the ball around. The offense became much more balanced. They effectively said, all right, you want to take Mark Sears away from us. We understand. Guy's a stud. Guy's a beast. Guy's a dog. So we're going to let other guys carry the load too. Nobody played more than 28 minutes in that game. They got a solid 22 minutes out of Aiden Holloway off the bench, 4 of 6, 12 points. Diabodi came off. He had 10 points, 4 of 5 shooting off the bench, 15 minutes. They balanced the offense out. There are schools. I look at Florida with UConn in this round of 16. I look at, I don't know, I'm trying to think of there's one more. BYU, Wisconsin. BYU scares me a little bit. They got their scare. So does Alabama. Duke hasn't been scared yet. I wonder if there's a letdown game for the Blue Devils. And I wonder if it's against a pretty good Arizona team who did get scared by the Oregon Ducks. Now, not as much of a scare because that was a 4-5 matchup. I traditionally put it to teams that are playing legitimate underdogs. Robert Morris for Alabama, for instance. Because I look at some of the other schools that have advanced. Iowa State against Ole Miss in round 2. Ole Miss got a little scared by North Carolina, 6-11 matchup. They were able to pull away late. Iowa State played Lipscomb, 82-55. They weren't scared. Ole Miss knew what they needed to do. This is part of the reason that I'm leaning, not official, and I don't have to go official until tomorrow because this game's tomorrow, but I'm leaning Ole Miss with the upset, the 6 over the 2 upset. Even though I have Sparty in my Elite 8 in this bracket, I'm kind of leaning Ole Miss, a team that I also was very high on coming into the tournament, but then scared myself off of on bracket fill-out day. I scared myself off of a team that I spent 3 weeks going, Chris Beard's got this team tournament ready. This team plays tournament-friendly basketball. Balance-paced offense, slap the floor, play great defense. Ole Miss is into the Sweet 16. And honestly, I think they have, outside of this, it's them and Auburn are the only 2 teams on this side of the bracket that can take out Michigan State. If Michigan State catches Michigan, I think they run them by 10, 15. If they catch Auburn, really good game. But I think Ole Miss is the most disruptive team in this bracket. And they got their scare against North Carolina. Florida got their scare against UConn, an 8 seed. I think Maryland is in trouble tonight at 7:39 against the Mighty Turtle. I look at Texas Tech and Arkansas. Neither one of those teams really got scared. Texas Tech had really no problem in their opening round 3-14 matchup with UNC Wilmington. Had no problem with Drake in round 2. Arkansas they're a 10 seed. They can't really get scared. There's nobody that's like, oh, what a dramatic upset for Arkansas. But more importantly, they should have been scared against Kansas. They won that game. Upset. They should have been terrified of St. John's. They weren't. 75-66. Like, they were comfortable. But they're house money. They got nothing to lose. So I like that 3-10 matchup over there. Same with Kentucky and Tennessee. Kentucky, no problem with Troy. Kentucky, no problem with Illinois. A team that they were like I don't remember what was the line there. They were like 4.5-point dogs to Illinois. They walked them. Tennessee, no problem with Wofford. No problem with UCLA. They walked them. That 3-2 matchup is interesting. But teams that get scared become very interesting to me. Houston, Gonzaga. Gonzaga was an 8 seed. Honestly, I think they were a 5 seed, maybe a 6 seed. I think they were probably the most unfairly seeded team in the bracket, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. They were able to run with Houston for a while. Houston just a better team. Purdue, no scare from High Point, no scare from McNeese. Comfortable team. That matchup is probably going to be about what the Vegas line thinks it's going to be. Houston minus 8.5. I actually have Purdue winning that game. Alabama got scared in round 1. Now they look like a better basketball team. That's why I think Alabama is likely your Final Four team out of that side of the bracket. So, there's game number 1. We're going to break down all 4 of the games happening today over the course of the show. We're going to break down the 4 games happening tomorrow. Tomorrow on the show, we got Lulu Kesin joining us in an hour. Rashad Beard in an hour and 40. Hatin Ass Mario in 2 hours. Fight Club in 2 hours and 20 minutes. And Water Cooler Cheat Sheet up next as we roll on. The Rob Brown Show continues after Lonzo. Start your day in a wish that Starbucks wishes it could with this Sports Flash.
Okay. Today is Major League Baseball's opening day with 28 of 30 teams in action. You can tell because Rob is wearing his white Braves jersey, rocking it. If you want to know the truth, you can see that on stream. The Brewers and Yankees will start the day at 3 with Toronto and Baltimore next up at 3:07. The Phillies and Nationals start NL East play at 4:05. And the Red Sox and Rangers also at 4:05. Paul Skeens gets the start for Pittsburgh against Miami at 4:10. And the Atlanta Braves will send Chris Sale to the bump at 4:10 to take on San Diego.
Baseball words.
The Sweet 16 fires up tonight with 1 seed Duke taking on the 4 seed Arizona. John Shire announced yesterday that Malik Brown, who has not played since the ACC tournament with a shoulder injury, could be added to the lineup. Brown left the quarterfinal against Georgia Tech and was averaging 3 points and 4 boards, but is known for being a versatile defender, so says Rob Brown.
Jacob, I said I'm gonna do my best to not push the panic button for 1 month. I'm gonna give it like 4 weeks, unless I don't, which is a strong possibility. But I'm gonna try my hardest to give it a month.
Ew.
Did I just burp into the microphone?
Yes,
I feel
you
like I
did.
That's my bad. That's my bad, y'all.
I mean,
Sometimes my brain just checks out
Dude.
entirely. I don't know what to tell you. There are just days that the old noodle checks out on me. It's not intentional. I'm not going to say I'm not a gross person. I am a little bit. But if you're on the stream this morning, I sincerely apologize because as I was sitting here reading through a couple of news stories that I would like to talk about on the radio broadcast this morning, as I stood up to start the hour, apparently I just ripped a half-drunken frat boy belch into the microphone.
So uncouth, sir.
Yeah, that's my bad. That's my bad. Listen, I'm a guy who finds a well-timed burp or a well-timed fart really funny. All right, I'm 12. I don't know what you want. You hit a belch at the perfectly timed time. You lift the leg and rip one in a dramatic moment of silence. I'm gonna laugh every time. I'm a child. Judge away. It's still funny to me. But I'm not gonna just do it into a microphone that is on with the volume escalated when I know that there are, 60 to 120 people with their speakers jacked up at any given time because somewhere somebody sat down to start their workday, turned on the show, turned on the stream, turned up the speaker, and the first thing they heard at 7:00:30 on the clock was just a shredded frat boy burp into the microphone. That's my bad.
Yeah,
that's
which
on me.
Means I need to be a little more on alert for the dump button. Not that I'm not already.
I mean, you can't dump the stream. Like the folks on the stream
No,
are getting an earful of brewski no matter what.
If you let out a belch and didn't even think about the fact that you let out a belch, you may let out something else. Is what I mean.
No, I mean again.
You
so
said the brain has left you.
You and I have been doing this show together for 4 years. You have dumped me, I believe, 3 times. 2 of them were because of the fact that I forgot to put a P on the end of a word, and it changed that word into boat. And the other time, if I recall correctly, was just because I said a word that I thought was appropriate and you didn't. And that was it. I don't think.
Well,
okay,
there's
I'm not
been
going to
some-
say. I'm
there's
not
been
going to
some
say.
editing snafus on your part.
Sure,
so,
but I'm not
yeah.
going to say I've never burped into the mic, but it's usually I stood up too fast after slamming a monster during the break, and it's like a quick, on the way by in the middle of a word.
It's a little secret, but it's not really a secret. You do it every day, multiple times.
No, I don't
a
do
day.
it every day. Stop it.
And everyone
Stop
hears
it.
it. You do.
Stop
You
it.
absolutely do.
Stop it.
If you're on the stream, confirm or deny
Not
what
on
I
the
just
stream,
said.
on the air.
I'm asking them to confirm what I just said.
I do not do it.
I just don't say anything to you. But I mean, the monsters hit you, dude, and you'll just be talking, and a little one will slip out. It just happens.
I had made the shift, by the way. I have made the shift over to Celsius full time. I'm a full time Celsius guy. The white monster has taken the back seat.
We've heard this before, though.
No, I know, but this time it's legit because I just found out that I can buy it in bulk cheap. So now I have two 24 packs in the fridge at the crib.
Ah, so it's a money thing.
Oh, for
Okay.
sure.
All right.
I work in radio, buddy. I don't have buy crates of monster money.
Pal.
I don't do it every day. You know what we do every day at 7 o'clock in the morning? Your water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with your friends, family, coworker, your dog, whoever you spend your workday with. This is what you'll be talking about.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworker saying,
Most impressive.
before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
I nailed that one. Yeah. I quit.
You had a streak of not nailing them going there.
You know,
for a
I
minute.
can fix it, but you asked me not to, and it's a game. I get it. I mean, I can make it to where I would never miss again.
There's a
but-
fart sound in the water cooler cheat sheet sounder, and Lonzo doesn't like it, so he tries to cover it up with a soundbite, but sometimes he misses, and it's hilarious to me every time. Every time. Like I said, a good well-timed ripperoonie is going to make me laugh every time, and that one's always well-timed. Texture said, do you not have Tums in the studio, Rob? I do. I do, as a matter of fact. Here's the thing. The requirement of a top 5 candy for me, Tums, is a nighttime thing for me. It's not really in the morning for me. Like the Tums thing is the antacid for the heartburn that I experience as a 40-year-old
look
man.
outside. What do you see?
Nothing. It's dark.
Exactly. It's still nighttime, Tech.
No.
I mean, it's nighttime to me is when it's dark.
No, it's morning.
It's still nighttime. It's
Literally,
dark.
no one is like, gosh, sure is dark out tonight. It's the morning.
Well, I would say back in the day, a bunch of people did that. You said literally no one, but before there was.
Why are we doing this today? Why is everything a married fight for us today?
I don't know why you want to fight for.
I don't.
I'm just pointing out it's dark, so it's night.
It's 7 o'clock in the. Okay, guys, it's 7 o'clock at night. That's what everybody's saying right now. 7 o'clock at night. It's 7 o'clock in the morning.
There's still darkness out there. That's all I'm saying. And darkness in the studio. You continue. I don't know what's going on.
Item number 1. The NFL has proposed its own rule change. We know that there are a few of them that are up for discussion at the owners' meetings down in Palm Beach later on in, actually, I think it's next week. There are some rule changes up for proposal. A ban on the tush push, the brotherly shove, is up for discussion. A rule about replay utilization is up for discussion. Now, these are team proposed rule changes. There was now an NFL proposed rule change. The rule change proposal is to move touchbacks from the 30 to the 35-yard line. Now, there is one more element of this discussion that has to be had. That discussion is the dynamic kickoff from last year, that weird kickoff that it took all of us, I don't know what, one kickoff to get used to and accept. That was only for 1 year. That was only approved for the 2024 NFL season. The NFL does have to go ahead and reapprove the dynamic kickoff becoming the regular kickoff this year. Spoiler alert, they're absolutely going to. And they're going to for one primary reason, which is the concussion rate dropped by about 10% this past season. Now, interestingly enough, there were actually the same number of concussions as the year before, the last year that the old kickoff rule was utilized, but there were more returns last year. So that means by rate of return, there were fewer concussions, even though there were the same number of concussions. There were more returns to get concussed on. The NFL is tinkering with the rule changes for kickoffs further. The proposal would consider moving the touchback from the 30-yard line out to the 35. Now, for those of you that have listened to this show for some length of time, if you will go back to the early portion of last year, the first year that we had the dynamic kickoff in NFL regular season games, I called this shot. And I called the shot because the NFL wants more kick returns. They want you to have a reason to be in front of your television after a touchdown is scored. Under the old kickoff, there really wasn't. Because, the overwhelming majority of them ended up in touchbacks. So it was rare that if you got up after a tutty to go hit the bathroom, go to the fridge, grab a cold beer, maybe microwave some mozzarella sticks or something, and you came back to the TV, it was rare that you missed a kickoff return. Last year, that rate went up. The last year of the regular kickoff return, 21.8% of kickoffs were returned. Last year, 32.8%. So 1 out of every 3 kickoffs last year was returned. The NFL would like to up that number higher. Now, this is an example of a time. Somebody hand me my tinfoil cap, where I am going to call conspiracy. This is one of those times, not conspiracy. I don't want to say that. That's not quite a conspiracy. This is one of those times that I am going to assume the worst. At the end of the day, I do believe this is a condition, this is a circumstance that you can say the NFL really is about the money. Because if the desire is to limit the number of concussions and kickoff returns produce concussions at a higher rate than any other play in the NFL, it would kind of feel like the opposite would be true, right? You would want less kickoff returns. In fact,
is that still the case, though? I mean, as far as concussions go, aren't concussions down because of the new kickoff rule? And so because they don't have a running start and all that kind of stuff, less concussions and
the numbers are that the number of concussions sustained was the same number of concussions sustained as the year before. However, there were 22% of kickoffs returned the year before, 33% of kickoffs returned the year after. So the year before, you had 1 out of every 5 kickoffs returned. This past year, you had 1 out of every 3 kickoff returned. So you had the same number of concussions, but the number of kickoff returns skyrocketed. So you had the same number of concussions, but spread across a bunch more returns. And so logically speaking, if the NFL truly wanted to do away with concussions on kickoff returns, they would look at this and they would go, hey, the dynamic rule worked, which says that we can do more. But what the NFL is looking at doing right now is moving the touchback from the 30 to the 35. Why? Because the average kickoff return last year was 27.5 yards. That means that if you kick the ball to the goal line, the ball came out to the 27. So in that spot, you would go, okay, kick the touchback. I will sacrifice 3 yards to make sure that they don't break one, right? Or get out well past the 30 and have great field position. By moving the touchback out to the 35, with the average return being 27 yards, now the thought is, if I kick the ball to the goal line and they take a touchback, I'm giving them 8 additional yards, almost an entire first down's worth of yardage, by allowing them to take the fair catch in the end zone. So what the hope by the NFL here is that this will inspire coaches to kick into the landing zone more, to shorten up the distance between where the ball is caught by the returner and where the first line of defense is, because the closer that the ball is caught to the first line of defenders, the shorter the average return is. The average return was 27 yards, but if you caught the ball up at the 7, 8 yard line, that average return was actually cut down to like 15, 16 yards. So you're still talking about getting that ball out to the 28, 29 yard line. So a little bit like around the same area. But the thought here is, if the old touchback rule was at the 30, yeah, I'm gonna kick it through the back of the end zone every time. But if it's the 35, I'm now giving up 8 yards instead of 3. That's almost a full first down's worth. It makes sense to kick and have them return the ball, because on average, they're going to lose 8 yards of starting field position, which could be the difference in a football game. We'll talk about this a little bit more later on in the show, but we do have 2 more items, so let us get to item number 2. It is Major League Baseball's opening day. It is, as far as I am concerned, the best baseball day on the calendar. Why? Because the MLB's best will be on the field today, specifically on the bump. We'll get it started on ESPN at 3 o'clock when the Brewers and the Yankees go first pitch at 3 p.m. Freddie Peralta versus Carlos Rodon. It would have been, obviously, Garrett Cole, but he is done for the year with Tommy John's on the horizon. Zach Eflin and Jose Barrios will go in Baltimore and Toronto. First pitch at 3:07. An hour later, Phillies at Washington at 4:05. Zach Wheeler versus Mackenzie Gore. Garrett Crochet will take the bump for the Red Sox against Nathan Eovaldi at 4:05. He's going for the Rangers. Pittsburgh sends Paul Skeens to the bump for opening day at 4:10 on the road at Miami against Sandy Alcantara. At 4:10, San Francisco has Logan Webb against Cincinnati's Hunter Green. You say Kikuchi versus Sean Burke is LA at Chicago at 4:10 in a battle of the losers. Cleveland and Kansas City at 4:10 is Tanner Bibby versus Cole Reagans. New York Mets hilariously send Clay Holmes to the bump to take on Framber Valdez of the Astros at 4:10. Also at 4:10, Chris Sale gets his first start against the San Diego Padres up against Michael King. The Bravos minus 130 on the money line to win their opening day contest. Minnesota's at St. Louis. That's Pablo Lopez versus Sonny Gray at 4:15. Then we got a 3-hour break before the night games. We've got a 7 o'clock showdown. Detroit at LA, the Dodgers version. That's going to be Tarek Skubal, last year's AL Cy Young winner, versus Blake Snell, maybe this year's NL Cy Young winner. Chicago Cubs at Arizona Diamondbacks. That one first pitches at 10:10. Maybe my favorite pitching matchup that nobody else cares about. Justin Steele versus Zach Gallen. A couple of Cy Young contenders there. And the Athletics are at the Mariners at 10:10 with Severino taking on Gilbert on the bump. Seattle minus 175 on the money line for our nightcap. Major League Baseball's opening day. We have waited and waited and waited and waited, and finally, baseball is back, baby. Item number 3. It's Thursday. It is Sweet 16 Thursday. 4 games on tap tonight. Boy, golly, gee willikers, is my bro cave gonna get a bleeping workout tonight. I'm moving, this is not even a joke, I'm moving every television in the house into the Bro Cave tonight because I got baseball, and 4 Sweet 16 basketball contests tonight. We open it up at 7:09 when the BYU Storm and Mormon Cougars take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Bama, a 5.5-point favorite, over-under of 175.5 in this one. Not really shocking. Bama has already covered that number once and came very close in game number 2. I do like the Tide to outlast BYU. Maryland takes on the Mighty Gators of Florida at 7:39 on TBS. Florida 6.5-point favorites and over-under of 157.5. Arizona, the 4 seed, taking on number 1 seed Duke. 2 number 1 seeds in action today, Duke being the second. That one is going to go first tip at 9:39 in Newark, New Jersey. Duke 9.5-point favorites with an over-under of 154.5. And then we wrap it up with it. Can we call Arkansas a Cinderella story? I heard them referred to as a Cinderella story like 3 times yesterday. They are the 10 seed. They are the lowest seed to move on. They are taking on number 3 Texas Tech. 5.5-point dogs are the Razorbacks. Over under 148.5. Can a 10 seed, but a 10 seed coming out of the greatest basketball conference in the history of the sport, be considered a Cinderella? Is John Calipari the head coach of a Cinderella story in the bracket? I don't know. They are the team least likely to be here. They are a team I'm very interested in taking a bet on tonight. Arkansas, Texas Tech at 10:09. Your other 4 Sweet 16 matchups tomorrow. Ole Miss at Michigan State at 7:09. Kentucky, Tennessee, an all-SEC matchup at 7:39. Number 5 Michigan takes on number 1 overall Auburn at 9:39. And Purdue and Houston will have the battle of the big versus the quick at 10:09 tomorrow night from Lucas Oil in Indianapolis, Indiana. There's your water cooler cheat sheet. Those are the things you'll be talking about today when we come back. Let's talk about this NFL kickoff rule and some of the other proposed NFL rule changes and how they may impact America's favorite sporting league, the National Football League. We'll do that when we come back. I am Rob Brown. He is Lonzo. We wish you a very happy baseball opening day, and we will talk some baseball too on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Forgot to take my pill this morning. That may be obvious.
We'll be back because I got to do a thing.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Within the water cooler cheat sheet, we told you about a proposed rule change that the NFL itself has put on the table. They are considering moving touchbacks from the 30 out to the 35-yard line. The thought, I don't know why, whenever I call football, that's like, I think I took that from somebody, but I don't know who it was. But whenever there'd be a return or a long run, I'd be like, out to the 50, 45, finally tackled around the 32-yard line. I don't know where that comes from.
Sounds very Canadian.
I think I got it from Jim Henderson, who was the Saints play-by-play guy for like my entire life up until 3 or 4 years ago. He finally retired. He is an upstate New York guy who somehow ended up down in New Orleans, and he does still have a little bit of that upstate New York accent, so I wonder if maybe that's what it comes from. But yeah, whenever I call football, it's like kicks out, and that'll bring the ball on a touchback out to the 35-yard line. Anyway, they are talking about moving the touchback out to the 35-yard line. There's a reason for that. The reason being, last year we saw a dramatic increase in the number of kickoffs that were returned. The final year of the old style of kickoff, we saw about 21% of kickoffs returned. Last year with the dynamic kickoff in place, we saw 32+% of kicks returned. It was 1 out of every 5 kickoffs was returned. Last year, it improved to 1 out of every 3 kickoffs that were returned. Why would the NFL do this? The answer is very simple. They want more kickoff returns. They want the ball in play. We have discussed in the past that if you were to put a stopwatch to an NFL football game and you were to stop that stopwatch when the ball was snapped, and you were to stop that stopwatch when a referee blew a whistle to indicate the end of a play, a football is in play, being moved by a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, whatever. Out of a 4-quarter game for about 3 total minutes. There's about 3 total minutes while the game is in play. And I've been asked the question before, then why would you watch it if there's 3 minutes of action? And the answer is because the game, to Rob Brown, the game is played outside of that. That's the execution, but the game is played outside of that. To me, I find entertainment in watching defenders scramble to get into position and watching them adjust and watching quarterbacks watch the defense and try to come up with moves. It is in seeing substitutions and tinkering with the offense and the way the offense is run, whatever. It is not just about take, snap, handball, tackle. That's the execution of the game. The art, the beauty of the game to me is in the X's and O's, in the movement, in the personnel swaps, et cetera, et cetera. But, blah, 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 blah. The NFL understands it is at its best and its most profitable, which is most important. The NFL realizes it is at its best when the ball is actually in play. And so kickoff returns are a big deal because the reality here is kickoffs back in the day when 1 out of every 10 of them was being returned. Kickoffs back in the day were kind of not must-see TV, right? Kickoffs back in the day, if you got up after a tutty and you made your way to the fridge and you got yourself a cold brewski and then you popped some, buffalo wings into the air fryer, and then you had you sent that text or you checked Twitter to see, or maybe you tuned over to the NFL Red Zone to see what the other scores were. You weren't really at risk of missing anything for 5-6 minutes before the ball was spotted at the 25 or then the 30 and the next offensive series started. If you didn't watch 10 kickoffs in a game, you were going to miss 1 or 2 kick returns. Last year, if you didn't watch 10 kickoffs in a game, you were going to miss 3 or 4 kick returns. It's not a huge number, but it's enough that if you're a football fan, you're like, I got to watch kickoffs now. Kickoffs are now back to being a part of the game. So the reason the NFL wants to move the ball out from the 30 to the 35 on touchbacks is very simple. The average kickoff return was 27 yards, which means if you had a kicker who could consistently drop the ball on the goal line to force a return, that ball was ordinarily, on average, going to be brought out to the 27-yard line. With the old touchback system, the ball would be spotted on the 30 if that kicker just sent it 3 yards deeper into the end zone. which means if I am the kicking team, I have a decision to make. I can kick the ball knowing that maybe I get a stop and I push them back into their own red zone, or maybe they pop a great return and they get it out to the 35, 36, 37-yard line. But realistically, more often than not, it's going to be spotted somewhere around the 27, which means if I kick a touchback, I'm effectively sacrificing 3 yards to guarantee that there's not an electric play and a spark. If the ball has to come out to the 35 now, with an average return of 27 yards, now I am risking 8 yards on a touchback. That is almost an entire first down's worth of yardage. 8 yards can be the difference in a field goal on that possession and not. So now the question is, do I trust my kickoff team to be able to hold their kickoff return team to an average return of 27 yards or worse? Or do I give them the ball out at the 35-yard line? Because even to get to the 35-yard line, they would have to have a kickoff return that is 8 yards longer. If I drop the ball on the goal line, 8 yards longer than the average kickoff return. It would have to be above average by 8 full yards. That's a lot of yards. So the belief here would be, if I'm a head coach, I look and say, if I drop this thing on the goal line or on the 1-yard line, the returner has to be 8 yards better than average to get to where the touchback zone is. I'm willing to risk that. I'm not willing to risk 3 yards, but I'm willing to gamble on 8 yards of difference in field position. So now I'm telling my kicker, don't boot it through the uprights. I want you to be an ace, a sniper, an assassin, and drop that thing on the goal line every time. I want that thing dropped between the 1 and the goal line every time. All of a sudden, there is a noted increase in the importance of a great kickoff guy, a great kicker, a kicker that I can trust to drop the ball between the goal line and the 1-yard line. Because if I'm going to not have touchbacks, I'm going to take a return every time. Because I believe that my kickoff team is good enough that I can stop their guy from just doing better than average more often than not. I still need that ball dropped on the goal line. Because if I drop it on the 5 and it's a 27-yard return, that means the ball's going to be spotted on average at the 32-yard line. Touchback zone's at the 35. They only need to beat the average by 3 yards per return in order to get the touchback spot, which means if they beat it by 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 yards in return, they're picking up 4 or 5 yards worth of extra field positioning. I don't want to have that. So if you are the type of person that when changes come in, your immediate thought, your immediate belief is, oh, this is bad for X people who have X job, then you're happy about this. Because a kickoff sniper who can drop the ball on the 1-yard line every time is now very valuable to NFL teams. Very valuable. Because I don't want to kick touchbacks anymore. I want to put the ball in play. I want to put the ball in play at the 1-yard line on a kickoff, make them return, because to get to the touchback line, they would have to go, again, 7 to 8 yards above the average kick return. The NFL believes this will increase the number of returned kickoffs, and I believe that they are correct. Just looking at it through the eyes of a nerd, which I am, because numbers matter. The only universal language is numbers. Data. The numbers say, if I can drop the ball at the 1 and I just hold them to average, more often than not, they're starting 5 to 8 yards behind where they would be on a touchback. Am I giving them 8 yards of possession, 7, 8 yards of possession to prevent a kickoff return for a touchdown when there aren't that many of those? No, probably not, right? Now, the reason this conversation is interesting to me is because over the past handful of years, the NFL has made what? Concussions a primary discussion point for them. We're doing everything we can to limit the number of concussions sustained in an NFL game. Cool. I'm good with that. I'm tired of seeing junior Seau's, right? Like, I'm good with that. But we also know that even though the number of concussions per kickoff return is down, same number of concussions, but there were, 20%, 25% more returns this year. the percentage of concussions was down. The number of concussions was the same, which means that next year, if this rule goes into play, next year, we will have more concussions, total, cumulative number of concussions. Even if it is less per return, we will have more concussions as a net number than we did the last year of the old school kickoff. So this is kind of one of those spots that I point and I go, it's always about the money. It's always about the money. It's never about anything but the money. The reason they're doing this is so that you and me and everybody else have to feel like we have to be dialed into every kickoff because every kickoff could be a return. But they're going to increase the number of concussions across the league. Some people are good with that, some aren't. I don't necessarily know how I feel about it yet, to be honest with you. All I'm saying is this is one of those times that I can point and go, I don't care how big of a fan you are, you have to acknowledge the NFL is about the money before anything else. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, it's getting warmer, right?
No, I think
Yes,
it's.
it is.
I thought it was.
Verifiably, it is now up to 76 degrees in here. Mm-hmm.
I thought it was getting colder. I might be ready to stroke out.
Please don't, but make sure you're off the camera if you do it. I don't want people to have to see that. Appreciate that, Donovan. The phrase I have used is not guys doing guys things, it's bros doing bro things. Because anybody can be a bro. It took my wife like 2 years to get used to me calling her bro, but I do.
Why you get out of your vehicle and look around like you up to no good? Maybe she heard a goose. Almost had a showdown last Saturday
With a goose?
as two geese decided that Cameron and I were not getting in the building. It would have been bad for the geese. Words were exchanged. Keep eye contact, back into the door.
Oh, I hiss back at him now.
Make sure they don't try to jump into the building, which I think would be hilarious, but, you know,
I'd let one in just for the chaos.
well, don't say that because we're on stream, and if it happens, it will look like.
I
would just like to hear the screams of the sales pit as the geese decide.
It's one of those velociraptors makes its way in. I took the dog to the park like a handful of days ago when we had those like 3 days where it was in the mid-70s and it was beautiful. I took Remy to the park one of those days, and so we walk. I park on one side and then we walk the circle. So like down, like across Liberty Bridge, around, under the other side, and then back up. And the geese were hanging out on the side, but they were sitting in the middle of the sidewalk that runs next to Reedy River Falls. And when Remy walked up to one, they got up and started doing their little hissy thing.
Yeah.
And I was in that spot. I'm like, I know it's illegal to kick a goose. I'm about to risk it. I was about to Johnny Hecker one of them geese into another dimension. Okay. Vibes. Subscribe. Welcome back. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Lulu Kesin of the Greenville News joining us in the next segment to talk South Carolina Gamecock women's basketball, maybe a little baseball sprinkled in as well. We'll do our audio blitz after that. Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joins us at 8:40. Hatin Ass Mario at 9 o'clock. And Fight Club at 9:20, where we'll get into all things pro wrestling, boxing, MMA, and more. But I want to get to the, well, real quick, let me respond to a text. The Hub City Spartan Burgers text line, 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. That's the text number. Make a contact in your phone because that's also the call-in number, 844-326-3663, and shoot us a text like this texter did, who said, Rob, how much money would the NFL gain with eyes on the TV with the proposed change? It may make exciting promos. That is the reason they are doing this, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, texter. Kickoff returns are now must-see TV, right? Because we can all sit here and go, oh, I'm concerned about the concussions and all that, but, like, the ratings have never dropped off. So this is only going to increase. I'm not going to say ratings because the ratings aren't going anywhere. They may tick up slightly, but, like, they're not going to dramatically increase or decrease. It's the NFL. It's not the ratings. It is what we in the business of radio call TSL, time spent listening. That is the number one thing, more than anything else, that we are gauged on is TSL. When you guys say, Alexa, play 97.1 The Fan Upstate, and Alexa goes, 97.1 The Fan Upstate from Odyssey, and she starts playing the show. There's a computer somewhere in the ether that presses a little button that starts timing how long you listen. And when you say, Alexa, turn off, and she clicks off, that little timer stops and it gets added into the pile of everybody else, and they say, okay, Rob and Lonzo get people listening for an average of X minutes and Y seconds. This is why I ask you all to put us on your smart speaker and then just leave the show on for all 4 hours, because it makes Lonzo and I look better than we already do. But TSL, how long are you actively playing the station or the show or whatever? The reason that matters is because Rob Brown's going to be fully transparent with you because I'm just that kind of guy. The reason that matters is the more TSL means what? The more commercials that are playing over your speaker, the more advertisements you're listening to, the more of my live reads, the more of the commercials, the more of the whatevers that get played and put into your ear hole. And at the end of the day, that's what matters in this business. I don't think that's a shock or secret or surprise to any of you, right? That's what matters. So the reason the NFL is making this rule is not because they really like kickoff returns, you guys. The reason they do it is because they know that after a touchdown, there is 5 to 6 minutes worth of gap before the next football play happens. Because there's a touchdown, the extra point is good. All right, let's go to commercial. We're back in Dallas, Texas after this. And then they go and they play 3 minutes of commercials, 2.5, 3 minutes of commercials. And then they come back. Tweet, kickoff, bang, touchback. And then they go what? All right, we're going to step away for just a minute for some very important words from our sponsors. We'll be back to Dallas, Texas right after this. And then you get another 2.5, 3 minutes of commercials. We're talking 5, 6, 7 minutes from the PAT to the next offensive snap. Because there's 45 seconds in between two commercial sets where they come back to watch a guy sail a ball through the end zone, to watch two kick returners watch it go over their heads, and then to go back to commercial break. So the NFL is saying, all right, how do we take advantage of that, take opportunity of that? Because that's a moment where if you got other stuff going on, what are you doing? You're getting up, you're walking to the kitchen, you're pouring yourself a cold frosty brewski, you're popping some onion rings into the air fryer, you're having that conversation with your husband, with your wife, you're maybe you got that honey-do list you didn't do on Saturday, so what are you doing? You're doing your chores in between touchdowns and next offensive plays. The NFL wants your eyeballs on that TV. Why? Because that's two commercial breaks that are widely being ignored. And they don't want you to ignore them because that is how they make all the money. This is how you get people to tune in, because now all of a sudden we have gone from 2 years ago, 1 out of every 5 kickoffs being returned, to last year, 1 out of every 3 kickoffs being returned. So if there's 6 kickoffs in a game, 1 at the beginning of both half, and let's say 4 touchdowns for the lulls, really that number's higher. Screw it. Let's say there's 10 kickoffs in a game. It's the overcashed. You got 1 at the beginning of the first half, 1 at the beginning of the second half. Let's say you had like 4 touchdowns and 3 field goals. 10 kickoffs. Under the old kickoff, you had 2 kickoff returns in that game. Last year, since it's now 1 and 3, you had 3 kickoffs in the game. It's not a dramatic difference, but it's a difference. With the new touchback rule, the NFL believes at this point that they would have 60 to 70% of kickoffs returned. They believe the majority of kickoffs would be returned. So guess what? Now after a touchdown, instead of going, I got 6 or 7 minutes before the quarterback touches the ball again, now you're saying, I got 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes before a play that matters happens, because kickoff returns matter now. So now you find yourself in a position where the touchdown happens, and instead of going, all right, I'm going to go scrub the toilet bowl like my wife asked me to, you're going to go, all right, I'm going to go like grab a beer and come right back. And that's it. The NFL's got you back in front of the TV for more time. That's what this comes down to. So like I said, the reason that this feels like the NFL is saying the quiet part out loud here kind of moment is because over the past 5, 6, 7 years, players getting concussions, the cranial health of players has been expressed as like a massive priority for the NFL, which I hope that it is. I'm trying not to be jaded and cynical. I hope that they are telling the truth here. But last year, we had the return rate go from 2 out of every 10 to 3.5 out of every 10. But we had the same number of concussions. The net number of concussions was the same. The concussions per kickoff return rate was down. If this new rule goes into place, there will be, league-wide, more concussions than there were the final year of the regular kickoff, right? More concussions, more players being concussed on returns if the rates stay the same. So what the NFL is effectively saying is, yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah, it matters. But also, we kind of need the ball in play. We're willing to have more players concussed because they're having to return kicks more often. That's it. That's the whole takeaway from me. All right, I wanted to get something else in here as we wrap up hour number 2. And we are going to get a little bit more in depth into this later on in the show. But there's a couple of clips I wanted to play as LeBron James yesterday did a 1-hour interview, sit down in studio with Pat McAfee and the gang. Zoe and I were talking about before the show this morning. I don't know about you. I mean, I do know what Zoe's going to say, but this is me setting him up to give his thought here. Zoe, I don't know about you, except for the fact that you already told me. I found this interview sincerely compelling. Like, genuinely compelling.
Not only was it compelling, it was a great interview. Looks like he had a lot of fun, but it really bothered some other people, which made it even better. When they're doing reaction shows on the same network, doing reaction shows after the thing happened to try to dispute everything that was said. And just about everybody that was talked about in the video is in the reaction show.
Yep. He addressed Stephen A. Smith and their little showdown. He addressed Brian Windhorst and their relationship, I guess, or lack thereof, I don't know. He addressed something else, though, that I thought was really interesting, and I think this is something we're going to be talking about for a while. Here is a very short clip that LeBron had on the McAfee show yesterday.
Listen, man, during the ball drop, during the lottery drop, Cleveland got the number 1 pick. I just don't think that was. What are you? What a coincidence! Don't you?
Wemby with the Spurs.
Oh my God! Let's keep LeBron home. You know what? Patrick Ewing to the Knicks. You know, Derrick Rose to the Bulls. Right? I understand the assignment, guys. I had to make sure that, I had to do my part. I didn't want to be a up. I just didn't want to be a up, man. Like.
So LeBron insinuating there, very heavy-handedly, that the year he went into the NBA draft, insinuating, not claiming, not saying as a fact, just lightly hinting that perhaps, perchance, maybe, the NBA, sorry, got the NFL in the brain, the NBA may have, possibly, potentially, theoretically, maybe manipulated the draft so that the Cleveland boy ended up with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But that's not it. It's not just that he said that he believes they manipulated that situation to get him into Cleveland. But he also insinuated they may have done that to get Derrick Rose to Chicago, amongst a couple of other players that ended up playing in or close to their hometown teams. This, to me, kind of feels like a huge deal. It kind of feels like a huge deal.
You know, in an interview where I was going, oh, a lot. This one was like, I was not expecting that. I can't believe he just said that. And it also makes me think this is his last year for sure. Because he doesn't seem to care. And, he did address a bunch of, things that people say on the internet and disputed some, acknowledged others. But this has got to, can he be suspended over this?
I mean, he didn't say they did anything wrong.
Because if they suspended him while the Lakers are on a run and have a shot to get a lot more eyes on TV, I think they're in a situation, and he knows they're in a situation where they probably can't do anything to him.
I don't think they can do anything to him. What I do think, okay, here's the deal. This has been an accusation about the NBA for a very long time. This has been a conversation that's been had a lot of times. There are other scenarios that have been discussed here. For instance, my team, back when the Hornets allowed the team to move and be sold, New Orleans immediately, when they had like a 4% chance to win the lottery that year, immediately gets the number 1 draft pick. They went with Anthony Davis. This was immediately after their previous pick, Chris Paul, requested a trade, right? So there was a lot of controversy. Cleveland got 3 number 1 picks in the 4 years after LeBron left the Cavaliers. They got 3 number 1 picks in 4 years. In a lottery system, even if they had the best percentage odds to get the number 1 pick, for that to happen is just like statistically odd. A 41-41 Orlando Magic team when Shaquille O'Neal played there. A 41-41 Magic team ended up with the number 1 pick to pair a top player. This was early in Shaq's career. Shaq, at this point, like it was obvious Shaq was going to be a dominant force in the NBA, and he was locked into Orlando for like 5 years on that contract. But there was no one else there. There was no one else there. And a 500 team got the number 1 overall pick to bring in Shaq. These are all things that have made people go, nah. Like, we can't prove it. It's conspiratorial. And as I've said many times, part of the reason that I do not get down with conspiracies, especially big-time conspiracies, is because of the sheer number of people that have to keep their mouths shut about them. And if you've ever been around people, which I suspect most of us have, you know that keeping their mouths shut is not a particular strong point with Homo sapiens we're not particularly good as a species at keeping our mouths shut. So the more people that get involved in a conspiracy, to me, the less likely it is that conspiracy is true. For them to have faked the moon landings, there have to be thousands, if not tens of thousands of people who know the truth. And you're telling me for what, 60 years now? Not one person came forward with a set of notes? Not one person came forward with some backstage footage? Nothing? That's why I think that whole thing is garbage. For the NBA to pull off a conspiracy where they're able to manipulate a draft to get the team that they want, in this case Cleveland, the player that they want, in this case LeBron, the Cleveland boy, and keep him close to home where they know he's going to do the most ratings and do the most good with ticket sales and merch sales and yada, 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 there would have to be at least, let's say, what's the least amount of people that would have to be involved in that? Because the commish, and then what? Deputy commish, whoever runs the draft. The least amount of people there would have to be is like probably 10 people involved in pulling it off.
Whoever's running the
whoever's pulling the ball out,
yeah.
whoever.
I don't know what it's called.
I mean, they're lottery balls, but like.
I mean, the machine.
Yeah, it's like a.
Oh, the hopper. Okay.
That's it. Whoever organizes that, whoever it was that prepares the ping pong ball so that when the guy reaches in there and moves his hand around, he can definitely know which one belongs to the cat, whatever. Like, there has to be probably, I'm going to say conservatively, like at least a dozen people have to know what's going on. And if this has been happening, dating back to Shaq's second year with the Magic, that means that there have to be at least hundreds of people in on this conspiracy, and not one of them. Tim Donaghy couldn't make it a year fixing games before somebody got him out of there.
I don't think it would have to be 100 people. I'm
saying stacked up. We're talking back to Shaq with the Magic. Like, we're talking four commissioners worth of time.
The players don't have to know that it's going to happen.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the people who actually do the things to make this happen if the conspiracy is true. I'm talking the commissioner, the guys who prep the lottery balls, the guy who are making the picks, the deputy commissioner, the draft security. If you stack up, let's say there's just 5 people to pull that off. But the NBA's been doing this because he mentioned Derrick Rose to Chicago. We got the 41 and 41 Magic getting a guy a number 1 pick to pair with Shaq.
It doesn't happen every year though. It's only when a big time star that is projected to do really well. I don't think it happens every year. I think it only happens on certain years.
Even if that's true, there has to be a huge swath of people who know that this is happening. Not one has said anything about it. What makes this interesting is that the most well-known global athlete on planet Earth, LeBron James, went on the number 1 most listened to sports podcast / show in America and flat out insinuated the NBA rigs its draft. If anybody comes out now with any evidence to prove that true, it will be the worst thing that's ever happened to the NBA. We'll talk more about this later on in the show. Lulu Kesin talks Gamecocks next after Lonzo gives you this Sports Flash.
I completely believe LeBron on this, by the way. Clemson baseball got back in the win column on the diamond with a 9-1 win over Presbyterian last night. Chance Fitzgerald went 5 scoreless relief innings, allowing 2 hits and striking out 6 to earn the win, improving the Tigers to 24-4. Jaron Purify and Tristan McClatty both had 2-hit days, while Luke Gaffney recorded 4 RBIs and Cam Canarella added 3 more. Sweet 16 fires up tonight with 1 seed Duke taking on the 4 seed Arizona. John Schreier announced yesterday that Malik Brown, who has not played since the AC tournament with a shoulder injury, could be added to the lineup tonight. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel ride shotgun on your drive home and get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, and a whole lot of fun. And you guessed it, it's all Wire to Wire. Good morning, Stephen. Will Rob make it back into the building or room? He's probably not out of the building, in the next 30 seconds or so. We'll see. Whatever shall I do? I don't know. He found his way back. It's good to know.
Morning, Steven. Welcome in, buddy. Good to have you.
What?
I was talking to stream.
Oh.
Off we go into hour number 3 of the foremost electrifying hours in sports talk entertainment, the Rob Brown Show. Right here on the Fan Upstate, I am Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo, on the ones and the twos.
I'm your huckleberry.
This AM. As we do every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, we take a short little road trip right on over to Columbia, South Carolina. And we welcome in a young lady who covers the South Carolina Gamecock Athletic Department for the Greenville News. The lovely Lulu Kesin joins us here on the radio broadcast. Good morning, Lulu. Welcome back.
Good morning. It's actually a longer trip because I'm in Birmingham, Alabama this morning.
That's
so
right.
It's a confusing 7 a.m. for me. I was thrown remembering what time to set my alarms for the show because obviously y'all are still in Eastern time. But I'm here. I made it.
You could have said, screw you, Rob Brown. It's too early. I'm not doing that. And I would have totally understood.
Yeah, but my parents would have been very disappointed.
Okay. I get that. Upsetting Mama Lulu Kesin is not the way to start off a Thursday. I'm good with that. Lulu Kesin joining us here on the Rob Brown Show. All right, I got to ask you this before we get into basketball, and we will here just a minute. The Gamecocks set to take on the Maryland Terrapins tonight in some Sweet 16 action down there in Birmingham, Alabama. Lulu, FanDuel just put out their list of the 10 most interesting Major League Baseball ballpark foods that are debuting this year, and I want to ask which of them are you most interested in taking a road trip to go with? The filthy macaroni and cheese fries of the Diamondbacks, where they threw like cheddar mac and cheese and pork belly and onions on top of Cajun fries. The Pittsburgh Polish cannonballs, which are deep-fried balls of egg noodles, kielbasa, cabbage, bacon, and cheddar cheese. The Warehouse Burger of the Orioles, which is just like a huge-ass cheeseburger with onion rings and queso and more on top of a pretzel bun. The Celebration Cake Milkshake of the White Sox, which is a birthday cake ice cream confetti cake, pinwheel cookie, and cherry on top milkshake. The Daddy Mac dog of the Astros, which is a foot-long ballpark dog with a bunch of barbecue joint appetizers on top. The Royals Blue Velvet Whoopie Pies, which apparently is like a big thing in KC. It's like a soft cookie with icing in the middle. The Helmet Tiramisu of the New York Yankees. The S'mores Quesadillas of the Philadelphia Phillies. The What Up Corn Dog of the Seattle Mariners, which is a corn dog that they use food dye to dye Mariners blue, or the cotton candy fries of the Toronto Blue Jays, which are French fries with cotton candy on top of them. Which one is Lulu Kesin roadieing for the food?
Despite being a Massachusetts native, I'm gonna go Yankees. The tiramisu helmet here. I did see a picture of that, and it just looked really, really good. But if I had to go savory, I think I'd do the burger. But I'm not a picky eater, but I don't always love the most like wild, like a bunch of flavors in one thing. Or I guess like I do like a lot of flavors, but like the Polish the little like Polish things, those might be good. But like I don't like a crazy hot dog or anything like that.
See, I'm down with a crazy hot dog. The Polish cannonballs, I think it's all about whatever dip's coming with it, right? Like it's all about what are we dipping the cannonballs into here. Based on the picture, it looks like they're just serving it with like some ranch dressing, which I guess could be okay. Like I want a little chipotle or something in there.
By the way, the candy cotton fries is just weird.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't like
everything
that.
else sounds good. That's just so they just put the candy cotton on top of.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Cotton candy on top of French fries.
I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, cotton candy.
They have some kind of like weird like candy sauce on top of them. I'm like you, Lulu Kesin. Like I like variety. I like mixing and matching flavors in a meal, but like salty French fries and sugary syrup on top doesn't feel like the way to go. But I do dip my Wendy's fries into my chocolate Frosty, so maybe I'm a psycho. I don't know.
I was about to say I do love dipping French fries in a milkshake when I get the chance.
Yeah. It's tough. We're gonna have to spin this around a little bit. Lulu Kesin joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Kind enough to get up an hour earlier to join us from Birmingham, Alabama, as that is where tomorrow night's Sweet 16 matchup will emanate, with the Gamecocks of South Carolina taking on the Maryland Terrapins. That game's going to be at 5 p.m. at Legacy Arena. Let me start with this, Lulu Kesin. Just what's the vibe of the squad right now? This was a team that had a couple of shots during the regular season where you're like, oh, man, I don't know where they're going to be at. But then they go on a tear through the SEC tournament. No problem in the opening 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. What's the attitude of the squad right now?
Vibes are good. I definitely think they want another chance to have a better first half. Not that they feel lucky to move on based on how they played against Indiana, but I think there's a lot of excitement to play even better than they did the last time, and definitely build off of what happened, I would say, probably last Friday in the first round versus Tennessee Tech versus Sunday against Indiana. But overall, they seem incredibly excited to play.
It's a spot for the Gamecocks where, Lulu Kesin, in those last couple of weeks out of the regular season into the SEC tournament, into the national championship tournament, there were some things that you pointed out that you thought were maybe weak points in the game or areas for improvement. I know rebounding was one of them. I know finding some depth off the bench was one. And since then, we've seen an improvement. Chloe Kitts has looked a lot more comfortable cleaning up the glass. You've seen some players like Joyce Edwards coming off the bench and start to get 12 and 13-point games and make sure that those backup runs, the twos on the floor together, weren't net negatives. It seems like they cleaned up a lot of the issues, but obviously the competition's only going to get tougher from here to the path for another natty. What would you say is the difference between the team that has been on a 5-6 game heater lately versus that team that was getting blown out at the crib by UConn?
So I think that I've all season in general, I've been kind of critical or just hyper aware of how the starters perform on offense, because Dawn very early on said something along the lines of, the guards just aren't connected right now, and I don't know why. And I've sort of looked at that as the starting 5 as a whole. And I was incredibly impressed with the way that the starters dug South Carolina out of a hole on Sunday when they were down against Indiana. I believe all 5 starters played around 30 minutes. Mylasia Fulwiley, who's one of the best players and most, dominant scorers, she played, I think, 9. Like, there was a clear kind of nod of trust from Dawn to amplify the work that the starters had been doing in that game. and I appreciated the chance to see sort of the starters, I guess, carry. And so I think that's a major difference is maybe in that UConn game, they're still kind of dependent on, okay, Joyce and Malaysia are coming off the bench and they're our main scorers. Whereas now it seems like everybody, I don't want to say everyone wants to contribute because I don't necessarily want to claim it was a desire thing, but the visible sort of like, I can score, I can be the one to score, we can all score is, I would say, just up a notch since that UConn loss.
We are talking to Lulu Kesin, covers the South Carolina Gamecocks for the Greenville News. Joins us every single Thursday at 8 a.m. to do just that. Give me your thoughts on this Maryland team. They go to an absolutely electric OT win over Alabama. I'm looking at the ESPN preview of this game. They're giving the Gamecocks like a 93% chance to win this game. And I think that is that's the easy way to look at it. South Carolina is a 17.5 point favorite in this. And you'd like to think it's a cruise for Dawn Staley's Gamecocks, but it's March, Lulu Kesin. It's called madness for a reason. What is, if anything goes wrong and Maryland can make this a good competition, what is that one thing?
Free throws. They're the number 2 team in the country in free throws and making free throws, getting to the line. So if this becomes a close game, South Carolina has to realize that Maryland could simply win it on the line. They don't have to have the most perfect and fluid offense if they just bait South Carolina into fouling them. And I think that's something to look at. Maryland was down 17 at one point to Alabama and came back, and then a lot of what pulled ahead in double overtime was free throw shooting. But Maryland, you know, they have a lot of grit. They have a lot of heart. They're a talented physical team. They play, in my opinion, kind of similar to South Carolina in some regards. So I think that South Carolina needs to understand that down 20, down 5, like this Maryland team clearly is not going to go away easily.
I don't disagree with you, and I actually think that's a really good take. I completely agree with you, I guess is the better way to phrase that. I would also point out that this Maryland team, as Alabama learned in that OT loss, this Maryland team can score, Lulu Kesin. Like they're an 81-point-a-game team. They are scoring 23 points more per game than South Carolina has allowed. Now, obviously, that's including the games where South Carolina has just played bad basketball teams, and Maryland is not a bad basketball team at 25-7. My other cause or my other policy I would have for Dawn Staley here is you better play gritty defense underneath and do not allow Maryland to get into any sort of rhythm, because this does feel like a game where if Maryland comes out hot earlier, they're efficient with the offense, they're knocking down field goals. This is the type of team that can shock you with a 14-2, a 16-3 run early, and even though you're a 15-point favorite, now you find yourself down 15 early and you're having to scrap back from that. That would be my big thing is defense at the 3-point line and do not let them get comfortable setting the pace of this game.
Right. No, that's a great point. And I do think that South Carolina sometimes fails to understand that they can really scare teams when they set a pace, when they set a flow, when they set a tone. And so making sure that Maryland isn't the first one to do so, I think will be especially key, as you said, on offense.
Lulu Kesin joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. If we are looking at this game, and let's just say we're looking at it as a win for the sake of the conversation, Lulu Kesin, it would look that next up you would get the winner of UNC and Duke, a little ACC rivalry between two very good basketball schools, the 2 seed and the 3 seed. Is there a matchup, whether it's Duke or North Carolina, whether it's Texas, Tennessee, Notre Dame, or TCU, and how about Texas and Tennessee on the bottom half of that bracket, meaning either one of them could be a Final Four test? Who is the biggest threat to prevent South Carolina from making it to another national championship game? Is it one of the 2 teams up top, Duke and North Carolina? Is it Texas, Tennessee, Notre Dame, TCU down in the bottom half?
You know, it's so tricky because South Carolina's played so many of those teams before, with the exception of Notre Dame. I do think that Notre Dame would likely give South Carolina the biggest issue just because they have three really great scorers. South Carolina has proven they can shut down, a Madison Booker, Michaela Blake. They can handle things pretty well when there's one, maybe two max dominant scorers. But with the kind of lethal trio of Hidalgo, Miles, and Citron that Notre Dame presents, I think that they would potentially give South Carolina the biggest issue.
Lulu Kesin joins us every Thursday at 8 a.m. to talk basketball. All right, Lulu, what are we expecting tomorrow night? The final score, you don't have to give me exact, but like ballpark, is this a team that can cover up 17.5, or does South Carolina kind of maybe pull back the accelerator a little bit?
No, I don't think it'll. I think I published like a final score around like it might have been like somewhere between 10 and 12. Like I would be shocked if it was a quote unquote blowout, but I also don't think that South Carolina likes to play close games. I think they recognize that when they can step on the gas and extend the score, they will. So I don't think it'll be a 2-point win. But I think it might be maybe a single digit or 12 max.
Lulu Kesin covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News. Kind enough to join us every Thursday at 8 a.m., unless you're in Birmingham, Alabama, in which case it's 7 a.m., which makes it even more compassionate of her to get up an hour earlier to talk with us. Lulu, you are the best. I appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully I'm calling you guys from Tampa next week. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good weekend.
Listen, Ybor City in Tampa, that's the spot, all right? That's the only good thing about Tampa is Ybor City. Go ahead and write that down, YBOR, and thank me when you get back.
Okay, sounds good.
Lulu Kesin, appreciate her time as always. You can follow her on X at Lulu Kesin, Kesin on the X. If you're a Gamecock fan, you are going to want to be followed because she is embedded with the squad down in Birmingham, Alabama. Will be covering up to and through the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and the National Championship should Dawn and the gals make it to the top. When we come back here in a minute, your audio blitz. And we've got some interesting ones to get to. We'll do that next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I was going to ask you if you saw what I sent you, but I know you did. Or maybe you did. Does it sound like the audio that I just sent you?
No, that was, did you send me the Stephen A. clip?
I sent you a Stephen A. clip that he just said.
Oh,
he
yeah.
just posted.
That's
Is it that one?
Yeah.
Okay. I got it turned down.
Guys, I'm going to step away for just a minute to get the audio right for the next segment. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. It is time for the Audio Blitz. We got Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joining us in the next segment, so we're going to sprint through some of the best audio we found over the past 24 hours. We start with this one. Rob Manfred, a day after Aaron Boone said on a national podcast that he believed the automatic balls and strikes are bad, which is incorrect, but that's another debate for another time. Rob Manfred yesterday afternoon on the eve of Major League Baseball's opening day was asked what the feedback has been about the ABS system.
We have had really positive feedback in general, and not exclusively, but in general, the feedback has been really positive. You get the sort of suggestions around the edge, like we should get another challenge in the ninth inning or in extra innings, those sorts of suggestions, which, we're obviously open to. But I think it was a success for us.
You're getting ABS, people. You're getting ABS, and I'll tell you why I think you're getting ABS. Rob Manfred's job as the commissioner of the Major League Baseball organization, just like Roger Goodell's with the NFL, just like Gary Bettman's with the NHL, just like Adam Silver's with the NBA. His job is to figure out a way to communicate what the owners want to happen. If Rob Manfred comes out and says, hey, the feedback was positive, is a little rough around the edges, of course it was, is the first time we've done this at this level with this intensity, but the feedback has been generally positive, that is telling me that, to me, the owners like what they saw. The owners are on board with what they saw, and therefore you are going to end up getting ABS in regular season game. Now, will it be on a challenge system? Will it end up being full-time? I don't know. What I do know is it's a step-by-step process, and this sounds like step one, the baby step out of the gate, was something that the owners like and are on board with, which means I do think you are getting it in the long term. Dan Morgan, GM of the Carolina Panthers, was speaking yesterday as NFL teams are starting to put their draft plans together 28 days until the NFL draft. Well, the Carolina Panthers have recently signed Dallas Cowboy vet Rico Dowdle, former South Carolina Gamecock, who I am scheduled to interview today at 1 o'clock. If that does come through, we'll play it for you tomorrow on the show. However, there was another running back in Charlotte, North Carolina by the name of Chuba Hubbard. Dan Morgan was asked how he believes these two guys will coexist.
Running back position, a lot of changes there to take me through, maybe some insight on the decision to, part ways with Miles Sanders, but also the excitement of bringing in a guy like Rico Dowdle coming off the best year of his career and the 1-2 punch he can have with Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, we're obviously we're really excited for Miles and his new opportunity. It also bought us Rico Dowdle, who we're super excited about as well. I think he's going to bring a physical run style similar to Chuba, and that's kind of the DNA that we want on that side of the ball. So we're excited about both those guys, kind of a 1-2 punch. They both can catch the ball out of the backfield. They can both pass protect, and they're both obviously really good runners that we're excited about.
Nothing that I'm shocked by. I mean, checks out. Rico wants to run hard. He's also a good pass-catching running back. You all know what Chuba Hubbard is. You've been watching since he showed up from the Oklahoma State Cowboys a couple of years ago. I will ask Rico Dowdle today his thoughts on sharing a backfield with Chuba Hubbard, but TBH, I'm pretty honest. I'm pretty excited about it, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm excited to see what these two guys look like. Joey B just popped on the stream and said, two guys, neither of them may even be the starter. They still got last year's second-round pick on the roster, too. Yeah, but I think they are, Joey B. I think here's the thing. I don't think you will have a true RB1 on this team. I think you're going to have Dowdle and Chuba with the majority of the calls going running back by committee. That's going to be my bet, is those two guys are going to get the majority of the carries via running back by committee, but you do have John Brooks. He's obviously coming off that knee injury. I don't think they're going to be in any hustle to get John Brooks out there, but I would also point out John Brooks, 6'2", 207, probably going to slot in more as the finesse back. And with Dan Morgan and Dave Canales calling the personnel setup and the offense, I think Lonzo's going to get his wish, and I think this is going to be a physically mauling running team this year. John Brooks will be the change of pace guy. That's just my guess. We'll talk to Rico Dowdle about that coming up this afternoon. Couple more clips I wanted to get to. Here is WWE superstar CM Punk. He was on the Celtic Warrior YouTube show with Sheamus, where they do stupid workouts because they're big and they get paid for it. And Sheamus and CM Punk got to starting talking about their playlist.
So what's the most embarrassing song on your playlist? I don't have embarrassing songs on my playlist. No? I have... What's a song there that people would...
I have songs that people, I think, would maybe think are embarrassing, but to me, you like it what you like.
Yeah.
You know?
What song, let's say a song that you wouldn't expect other people to have on their playlist?
I listen to Doechii, and I think Chapel Roan is the one that people would be like...
Chapel Roan.
Yeah, CM Punk doesn't listen to Chapel Roan. I do. My Midwest queen.
Hottogo.
So I saw this and I'm like, okay, he's gonna find a way to work this in because that's his girl and you did.
You can take me high to go. Chapel slaps. Now I will say this. I hate to say this. I think she's kind of starting to get a little diva-ish on me. All right, a little diva-ish, but at the same time, it's kind of like so are the divas, right? Like Celine. Cher, Madonna.
Are you really comparing this newcomer to all those people?
I'm talking about her potential. I think Chapel's got potential to join the One Name Club. I think she's got potential to join the Shania. She's got the potential to join the One Name Club. She's well on her way, in my opinion. She has taken the world by storm. So the question mark is, will she get there before the diva attitude becomes too much for where she is on the success scale? If she gets to the top of the success scale, then the diva attitude, it becomes something that we all go, slay, queen. Slay. Oh, where's my clip?
Slay.
Queen. We all start looking and going,
the vibes are unmatched.
With Chapel Roan. But if she's got mega stars like me and Phil Brooks in her camp, seems like she's doing okay. Doing all right. Here's a clip that comes from the New Heights podcast. I don't need to set it up because you'll get the full context in the clip.
Do you put the cereal first or the milk first? This is about as stupid of a question as I've ever heard. Everyone knows the cereal goes in first.
Be careful, Trev. Be careful what you say.
Everyone knows the cereal goes in first. You have to lather up all the cereal.
Trev, I'm on the same page with you.
You don't just pour it in one part of the bowl either. You pour it over the top and you get everything covered in milk.
I'm 100% with you. There's no logical reason to pour the cereal second, but for some reason, Kylie pours the cereal second.
What?
And it's never made sense to me. I don't know why. I mean, in no other situation where a solid goes into a liquid, would you ever put the solid in second? Like, it's just asking for a disaster to happen. But Kylie does do it that way.
That doesn't make any sense.
And I usually don't say anything because it's none of my business, even though I think it's ridiculous. There's a reason you put the milk in second because it kind of gets the cereal to the perfect consistency of moistness.
Dude, thank you.
Yeah, Kai, you're wrong on this one. And I'm pretty sure if we put a poll out, you'd be in the bottom 8% of the 92%.
It is.
No. No one does this, really?
Yes.
Really? Because then you don't know the amount of cereal you're pouring into the bowl. That's the main thing.
Let's be honest here. Number one, he's right. Like, I know one person who makes their cereal this way.
Really?
I know one person who makes a cereal this way. I'm not married to that person, just so
okay. Yeah, okay. I'm glad you pointed that out.
I'm not married to this person. The wife is a cereal, then milk. And for all the reasons that Travis and Jason of the New Heights podcast there correctly said so, it's because I use the milk to make sure. Texter just said, I 100% put the cereal in second because I don't like soggy cereal. How does that prevent the cereal from getting soggy? It ends up in the same place. If I put the cereal in and then I pour the milk over the top, I can make sure that every piece of cereal is contacted by the milk and has the same consistency. If I put the milk in first, then the cereal on the top is going to stay crunchy and milkless, and the cereal at the bottom is going to be in the milk longer and soggier. If your argument is I don't like soggy cereal, then you are 100% doing it backwards. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, this is finally a food take you and I completely agree on. I've never in my life thought that there was a person out there who would put the milk in first. I didn't think that. I think it's just you come out of the womb and you know The cereal goes in first, and then you put the milk.
Listen, there are things we've made the joke that's not a joke before about how every guy instinctively understands which urinal to use when you're in a bathroom and there's multiple urinals. You all know which one to go to. If there's 5 and there's a guy in the middle, you go to the one on either the far right or the far left. If there's 5 and there's a guy on the far right, you go to the far left. If there's 5 and there's a guy at the second one in on the right, you go to the far one on the left. If there's 2 guys, one on both ends, you go to the middle. We all know the rules. You're never taught the rules. You never go to the bathroom with Pops and he's like, all right, it's guy there. Which one do you go to, son? And you go, I don't know, Dad, which one do I go to? You go to that one because of spacing. You never get taught that. It's just an instinctive set of rules. There is something deeply embedded in our DNA that tells us that you stand-up urinals, which one of the ones to go to. This, to me, feels like that. There are absolutely some dudes out there that do not understand the rules of the bleeper, the rules of the bathroom etiquette. And I have been in restrooms before where I'm on the one on the far right, which is closest to the door, and guy rolls in, there's 5, and he uses the one next to me. And I'm like, yo, I'm comfortable with my sexuality, but my guy, I got mine in my hand and you got yours in your hand, and you are unnecessarily a foot away from me. What are we doing here? This is that to me. Instinctively, the cereal goes in, then the milk. What are we doing here? How is this even a thing? And good for Jason for putting Kelsey on blast for getting it wrong. You're wrong. And all of you texting right now, like texter that says, if I do cereal first, I put too much, then the last few bites are overly soggy. I take being weird, but the logic makes sense to me. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Is this a male-female thing?
See, I don't know.
I'm curious if the texter is female.
Well, no, because, let's see. Texter says, my wife doesn't mix cereal and milk until she eats it, pours cereal in a bowl, pours milk in a glass, eats a spoonful of cereal, then takes a sip of milk. Sir, I'm sorry to say, your wife's a psychopath.
No,
your wife's crazy.
It's kind of weird. I don't know about
your wife's crazy. It's certifiably.
I mean, be nice.
I am being nice. I could say way worse. Your wife needs a therapist, man. Wow. Texas said, what do you do if you finish your cereal and want more? Do you drink all the milk first and then pour fresh milk? No. You put the cereal back into the milk at that point, then you put more milk over the top of it to level it out. I'm good with that. But the first bowl? What are we doing here? Rashad Beard next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I love that every time it is these dumb conversations
that generate way the most interaction on it. Every time. Why?
You mean something that we all do? Because there are people out there who are not soccer fans. They could care less when you talk about soccer. They phase out. There are people who are not wrestling fans. We're well aware of those people. They phase out. But one thing everyone does is eat.
I eat.
I
regularly
also eat. I don't know if you eat regularly.
217 this morning.
You eat weirdly. I forgot that I needed to eat. That's not a normal thing.
According to Nielsen, I am in an elite group.
Uh-huh.
Nielsen just put out a report that said, according to their tracking, roughly 3,000 people have watched at least 1 minute of every March Madness game so far.
Okay, we're talking about food. Didn't you throw that in there, making it sound like you were on the topic that we were talking about?
Stepping away to get Rashad set up, guys. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Damn.
I think that's like your first one in 2 weeks.
That's my first one in a while.
Yeah.
First one in a while. That one hurt. It's all right. Even Gretzky missed a shot every now and then. Waiting on Rashad Beard to join us here, hopefully in just a moment from right now, to talk a little Carolina Panther football with us. While we do, I don't think I'm gonna get myself in trouble here, and I've been told that I'm not. So I'm gonna trust him. We have discovered the identity of the individual whose wife.
Don't do that.
I'm going to do this. I am.
Dude, what is wrong with you today?
Many things. Most days. Many things. But we have discovered the identity of the individual whose wife eats cereal and milk by taking a bite of dry cereal and then drinking a sip of milk to mix them together inside of the mouth hole. And I'm going to reveal the identity to all of you because it is a friend of the show, friend of the station, employee of the station, and friend of mine off the air and on, as well as I am friends with the wife of Alex Guest, host of the Saturday Morning Scramble during high school football season alongside Cole
I just
Price.
want you to know, Alex, I tried to discourage him from doing this.
What I am hoping here is that by putting the identity out there, maybe we can encourage better behavior, okay? Also, I'll have you notice that when I started the segment, he texted me in all caps, do it, all right? So I have permission here. It is the wife of Alex Guest that takes a bite of cereal and then to have cereal and milk, then drinks a sip of the milk after that. When I said that on the show, he texted me and said, it's okay. The wife is a psychopath texter, it's okay. The wife is a psychopath texter was me. She can take the heat, but I agree. It's so weird. I said, did I just get banned from being friends with house guest? And he responded by saying, not at all. She knows it's weird, but she's one of those people that hates foods touching. Every time I see her eating cereal, I call her out on it. Now, I want to say that I also know people, more of them than people who pour the milk and then the cereal. But I do know people who, when they fix their plate of dinner, cannot have the foods touching. They can't have the foods touching. If it's like broccoli and fish, the broccoli and fish got to be on opposite sides. And I, to a degree, can understand that because all of us have our texture preferences and put-offs. It's understandable. However, you are eating cereal and milk and cereal. So that doesn't compute to me at all. That would be like, I would like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, so I'm going to take one slice of bread and put peanut butter on it, and then the other slice of bread and put jelly on it, and then I'm going to take one bite of the peanut butter bread and then one bite of the jelly bread. You're eating that. You are making the foods touch inside of your own mouth hole. So how does that make sense at all?
I kind of understand to a degree. Maybe she is a fan of the dry cereal, but dry cereal is, last time I checked, dry. So you need a little something to wash it down with, and what goes with cereal better than anything, that would be milk. So
then put it in the bowl with the cereal.
I just kind of understand it. I mean, is there an etiquette to calling people out? Should you do that? Because we know people around here who have are weird things that they do with food. And I don't know, they're calling them out on the air or even going, dude, what are you doing? That's weird. Why are you doing it? Do you do that? If someone does that, let's like say someone like puts individual ketchup on each fry, would you say something to that person?
I don't find that weird. You talk about taking the bottle of ketchup and being like, one spray?
Like the packets of ketchup. Say you're out to eat somewhere and you get the little packets of ketchup, you pull out a fry and you put a little bit of ketchup on.
I don't find that that weird.
Fry.
I don't find that weird.
It's kind of weird.
I don't find it weird, and the reason why is I also know a lot of people who don't like their food touching foreign surfaces, right? So like there are some people that like, even though the standard, if we're talking like we went to a food joint, we got a burger and fries. The way it works for me is I unwrap burger wrapper, I lay it out as if it was a plate, then I pour the fries onto the wrapper.
Yeah, that's
right.
Okay, that's normal. That's what you do.
My wife does not do that. she leaves the fries in the fry container standing upright, and she eats them straight out of that. And I'm like, that's just as likely to be as dirty as the inside of the wrapper. And to her, like, it's just a mental disconnect. She can't do it. Understandable, fine. That's not weird. And so the concept there is, if I put the ketchup, as I do, into a big mound on the inside of the wrapper for easy disposal later, and then I dip the ketchup through, then the ketchup is touching a place that I also don't want my fries to. I can understand that. That I get it. I don't agree with it. It's not for me, but I get it. I don't understand. I want cereal and I want milk, but I don't want the cereal to touch the milk until they touch the milk in my mouth. What is that? Mrs. Alex Guest, who I love dearly, by the way, Taylor Swift heart hand emoji. I'm a big fan. But what is that? Like, you are putting both of those things together anyway. You have just made it now for every bite of cereal, you have to do 2 actions, right? Like, you have to take twice it must take you 30 minutes to eat a bowl of cereal, because you got to go bite, sit down, spoon, pick up glass, take sip, let them mingle, and then chew. You are adding unnecessary steps that accomplish nothing.
That's the same reason why I have a problem with the fry thing. Because if you're in a hurry and that person has to put ketchup on every single fry, it takes forever, whereas you just put it down there and dip it in.
I don't disagree, but again, there's a reason to that. If you have a good reason for stretching it, like a good reason for stretching out a process, I understand.
Maybe she has a good reason for doing the cereal and milk that way. The way Kylie Kelsey does it, that just makes no sense at all. But this, I kind of get this.
This makes less sense than pouring the cereal into milk. This makes less sense than that. You are still putting the cereal and the milk in the same place. They are still touching. Like if you do the fish and broccoli example earlier and you don't like the textures together, it makes sense to separate them, because you're going to take a bite of the fish and then you're going to take a bite of the broccoli or the asparagus or whatever. That's what I had for dinner last night. That's why it's on the brain. I used the Blackstone griddle. Mwah, that thing is just fantastic.
Said broccoli
fantastic.
A bunch of times.
Big broccoli guy. Yeah. We made asparagus spears and steelhead salmon last night on the new Blackstone griddle. Holy crap! Where has this been all my life?
The heads on the salmon?
No, I filleted them.
Okay, all right.
I fillet my own fish.
Oh, so you caught them and then you?
No, I didn't catch them, but I bought the whole fish and then I filleted them the way I wanted.
What, did you go to like a fish market?
Yes, I did.
Do they have those around here?
Yes, they do.
Do they throw the fish?
No, it's
okay.
not Seattle.
Well, I've never been to a fish market.
When it's a seafood market, but yes, they have fish. You buy the fish whole, take them
so
home.
So you went to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's?
Nope, I went to a seafood market.
Okay.
It's just a seafood market. That's all they have is seafood. It's
very,
fantastic.
Very hipster of you.
It's absolutely not. I grew up on a beach. So the thought here is, and Alex has texted me and said if she were awake right now, I'd tell her to call and explain herself. I'm half tempted to tell you, wake her up anyway. This deserves an explanation. I get the fish and broccoli thing. I don't even know this person,
and you guys need to leave her alone. I mean, you're mean people.
We're not. When people do things that make me question their role in society.
I like Alex. I don't want him getting in trouble.
Alex.
I don't want him getting in trouble.
I wouldn't be doing this segment if I didn't love Alex and Alex's wife. They're both amazing people. They were when I worked alongside them a couple of years ago, and then obviously have made friends with Alex through that and through the radio station. They have become two of my favorite people in the area. I text with Alex on a almost daily basis. I love the guy, and I like his wife more than I like him. But just because I love you doesn't mean I'm not going to question you're crazy. If I found out my little brother did this, I would treat him as if I was a Russian hostage negotiator. Bright light, handcuffed to the table. What is your problem? I would need to know, because this makes less than 0 sense to me. This makes negative sense.
Your brother turned out okay, because all the things that you
Did he though?
I think he did.
So
he also has better hair. I'm just saying.
You are taking. You do the fish and the broccoli, the fish and the asparagus. I get that. You don't want those two textures mixing. You eat a bite of the fish, then you eat a bite of the asparagus. You're keeping them separate. That's fine. But you are taking cereal that you don't want to touch milk, and then you're putting the cereal in your mouth, and then without removing the cereal, you are putting the milk in your mouth. And what is the result of that? The cereal and the milk touching
Why did you just
in your
use
mouth.
Oompa Loompa cadence?
Because I don't think people understand, primarily you, how ridiculous this is. You don't want the cereal touching the milk.
Listen, I didn't say I would do it. I just said I kind of understand that. I just kind of do.
It's nothing more than concern for you. Like, I'm worried about you, if this makes sense to you.
Well, I'm a little more open-minded. It's supposed to be you. I try to see all the angles when I form an opinion on
Don't
something.
you do this superiority complex bullcrap? Absolutely not.
It's not. I try to put myself in that person's shoes.
Stop. Because I have one thing I can say to end that crap right now. One of us is called Liberob. If there is someone in this building
That was my point, dude, that I'm more
Someone in
open-minded
this
than you.
building.
That was my point.
that accepts alternative lifestyles, welcomes them.
Allegedly.
Not allegedly, welcomes them to be in my circle. It's me, and this is my line. I have said for years, Lonzo, I let everyone live whatever life they want to live. I am a true conservative. I let you live your life without interference however you want to live it.
What if I want to live my life in your living room?
Except for one group of people, furries. It makes no sense.
Hey, leave the furries alone.
It makes no sense.
man.
I will not.
Leave
It makes
the
no
furries
sense.
alone.
It makes no sense. You've gone too far, okay? I have now found the second group of people. And right now, it's not a group. It's just one person. It's just one person who I love and adore and think is a fantastic young lady. I'm a huge fan. But this is insane behavior. This is insane behavior. This makes no sense. The cereal, I don't want it to touch the milk. I don't want the milk to touch the cereal until I put them both in my mouth and they touch each other. What? What are we doing here? All right, Corn Chip just texted his thoughts. He said, to be fair, that's the best way to keep the cereal crunchy until you eat it, but absolutely cereal goes in the bowl, then the milk.
Right. That's the whole thing, and I agree with him, and I agree with you. I'm just saying I think I understand why she does that. That's all I was saying, and now I'm a bad guy because I think I understand.
What kind of cereal are you people eating that you pour milk over it and it's like insta-soggy?
I think, another thing people do is they'll pour the cereal, then pour the milk, and then do something else. You can't. That's not how cereal works.
Then wait. Wait.
Yeah.
Then just wait.
That's how things get soggy. My cereal don't get soggy because I eat it.
If I put my steak on the grill and then I go do something else, the steak's burnt. Then wait. What the hell are we talking about here? Texter said, call them out, Rob. If they can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. My wife was so embarrassed when I told her you mentioned her lactose intolerance on the air. She's also purposefully taken a swig of Italian dressing straight from the bottle because she needed to get some other sort of taste out of her mouth.
That'll do it. That will. Yeah,
that makes more sense than the milk and cereal thing to me, honestly.
Did she shake the bottle first so you can get some of the stuff that's on the bottom of the seeds?
Those herbs and stuff make it.
Yeah, and those will stay in your, yeah.
Bo texts the show, said, it's like eating mac and cheese separately. Noodles in first and then cheesy butter and milk mixture afterwards. It's craziness. Yes.
All right, no one does that.
Yeah, right. That's the point, because it would be crazy.
Yeah, the cereal thing, it's possible because you have people don't make I
like my pasta. I don't like it al dente where it's like a little bit sticky still. I like my noodles to stay separate. I don't want them to be like have that little bit of sticky to them, al dente as they call it. I like my noodles to be cooked. I let them boil an extra minute longer than I should when I make pasta.
Al dente means not done.
Correct.
That's what that means.
Correct. I don't like that. Yeah. I like my pasta. I let it boil an extra minute or two when I make pasta because I don't like it to have that sticky. The wife does. So whenever I make pasta, I scoop hers out into the colander and then I leave mine in an extra minute or two so it's a little less sticky. What I don't do is I'm going to take a spoonful of pasta and then a spoonful of marinara and put that in my mouth and mix them together manually. No, just put the sauce on the spaghetti. Just put the cereal and the milk in the bowl. This is the weirdest segment I've ever done, and for
But
some
you
reason
will-
I'm oddly passionate about
You
it.
will cook the sauce separate so people can, sauce to their own
Correct.
level of
Correct.
sauciness. I
But
guess.
if anybody ever comes up to me and goes, Rob, can I have a plate for my pasta and a bowl for my sauce so that I can mix them manually in my mouth, I'm going to be like, get out of my house. No.
That would be like chips and salsa, kind of. I mean, you put a fork in a noodle and you dip it, and it's just like chips and salsa, right?
No.
What's the difference?
We're late. We're late for a break. Lonzo hates when we're late for breaks. I'm ending this now. We're late for a break.
We're absolutely not late.
We're late.
because
We're
the
so
next
late for a
break
break.
is the
We
break.
are dramatically late for this break, so we're going to take it. We'll check with Rashad, see if we can get him in tomorrow.
We are not late, boss.
We
in
are
case you're
so
listening.
obnoxiously late for the break. It's honestly, we should be disciplined. That's how late we are. So we're going to run to a break. When we come back, Hatin Ass Mario from the BetMGM Network will join us. We'll talk a little NBA, little NFL. We'll get his thoughts on this LeBron James interview from yesterday, his thoughts on the Sweet 16 games tonight and tomorrow. Then we got Fight Club, where we'll probably just talk about cereal, milk, pasta, and sauce at 9:20. And then whenever you guys want to wrap up the show. That is all after Lonzo, who pours his milk on top of his cereal like a normal person, does this sports flash.
Absolutely, I'm normal. Oh, yeah, I'm sure Mario will say nice things about LeBron. Today is Major League Baseball's opening day with 28 of 30 teams in action. The Brewers and Yankees will start the day at 3 with Toronto and Baltimore next up at 3:07. The Phillies and Nationals start NL East play at 4:05. And the Red Sox and Rangers also at 4:05. Paul Skeens gets the start for Pittsburgh against Miami at 4:10. And the Atlanta Braves will send Chris Sale to the bump at 4:10 to take on San Diego. Sweet 16 fires up tonight with 1 seed Duke taking on the 4 seed Arizona. John Shire announced yesterday that Malik Brown, who has not played since the ACC tournament, will probably play tonight. It's only 3 seeds. I know it's 2 seeds. Yeah. Anyway, tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel ride shotgun on your drive home and get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, a whole lot of fun, and it's all Wire to Wire. ACCCCCCC. Mario.
Shocker, Team Floppy Bacon Guy also loves soggy cereal. Hashtag Team Milk First all day. What a hashtag. If you pour Captain Crunch on top of your milk, you're basically a deathmatch wrestler.
Mario?
I texted him the link.
Welcome to Stood Up Thursday. It is Thursday, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's Thursday. There he is. He also knows how clocks work and stuff. So, it's, some people don't know that. I just,
Mario, you wake up, you're hungry, you walk to the kitchen to break fast, you decide that you want cereal and milk. Which order are those two items being added to the bowl?
I don't think I've had cereal, by the way, in like 8 years, but I would go cereal then milk.
Okay, so you're normal. Thank you. That's all I need
Yeah.
to know.
Who's doing milk first?
We had a listener text the show a little while ago to say that his wife eats a bite of cereal and then takes a sip of milk to mix them together. She doesn't pour the milk in the cereal or the cereal in the milk, which, again, Zoe and I are both put the cereal in the bowl, then pour the milk. It's been kind of a heated debate this AM, but one texter texted earlier and said his wife takes a bite of the cereal dry and then takes a sip of the milk and mixes them together manually, and I've never been so confused and irrationally angry in my life.
That's like if you're eating chicken wings and you just take a bite of the wing and then a shot of the sauce. You just mix it in your mouth.
Yeah. Why? I just don't understand. Ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, that was just an example. You haven't seen anyone do that, right?
I've never seen anyone do that, but that's kind of fun.
Right.
You'd call them out on the spot if it happened, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, would you? I mean,
I
if
would.
this is, even if you didn't know him?
Yeah.
Would you,
Yeah.
So you walk to another table. This goes for you too, Rob.
I'd be friendly about it, but I would.
Would you?
Yeah, I'd be friendly about
I'd
it.
be like, who the heck are you? Get away from me.
I'm gonna live your life, do it the best, do whatever you want to do the way you want to do it, with limited exceptions, and this is one.
Yeah, but you don't come to my table and tell me how to eat.
I have every time I eat with my nieces and nephews, I have a thing about ketchup. And every time they have fries or anything, I take the ketchup and I throw it under the table. I go, you're not having ketchup. I can't do it. This is gonna gross me out.
Tyrant.
All right, that one's too far.
Yeah.
You've made it weird.
It's
now.
too far.
your
Really?
kids.
That's where we draw the line. I don't care. They share my last name.
You just threw a child's ketchup on the floor, Mario. Yes, that's too far. How do you not see that?
I don't care. It grosses me out. I need to eat too. Kids should be seen, not heard.
All right, and I hate this is very, very Rob Brown of me to say. Maybe someday you won't sit at the kids' table and you won't have this problem.
Wow.
All right, I feel bad. I felt bad, but some things you can't pass up.
I walked into that one. I did.
You did. When you walk into one so hard that even Lonzo kicks the legs out from under you, it's pretty bad. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going away now. I can't.
The executive producer of BetMGM tonight, which you can hear on this and find Odyssey stations nationwide every weekday evening from 7 until 11 p.m. He is also an NBA, NFL, and apparently arbiter of how children are allowed to eat for the BetMGM network. Hatin Ass Mario Heron joining us here on the show. Did you get a chance, Mario, to check out any of the 60-minute interview of LeBron James with Pat McAfee yesterday, specifically the clip? And I'm actually going to play it for you, where LeBron insinuated something very interesting.
Listen, man, during the ball drop, during the lottery drop, Cleveland got the #1 pick. I just don't think that was. What a coincidence!
Don't you think?
Wemby with the Spurs. Oh my God! Let's keep LeBron home. You know what? Patrick Ewing to the Knicks. You know, Derrick Rose to the Bulls. Like, I understand the assignment, guys. I had to make sure that, I had to do my part. I didn't want to be a up. I just didn't want to be a up, man. Like,
so I could be misreading this. I'm not, but I could be. LeBron James just insinuating that the NBA rigs drafts to make sure that high-level players end up in particular markets where they want them to be. Didn't just say it about himself, did it about Derrick Rose in Chicago. I brought up some other examples. New Orleans loses Chris Paul. They have a 4% chance to win the lottery with Anthony Davis the next year. They do it. Happens again a few years later with Big Z Zion Williamson. The Orlando Magic one year were 41-41 and ended up with the number 1 overall pick so that Shaq could have a guard play with him the next year. This, to me, even though it was kind of like a throwaway 45-second soundbite off the Pat McAfee show, this, to me, is like the worst thing that's happened to the NBA in a very long time.
It's a tough look. I had made a joke to someone last night about it, saying if this was David Stern, there'd be like a target on LeBron for like 2 months because he's like, what are you doing? I'm so he's like, I'm just going to let this slide. But no, it's something that we've seen multiple times. Like, I'll even go to Wemby, Rob. Like, Wemby just so happens like he's going to the Spurs where Greg Popovich has this pipeline to France, where Boris Diaw, who still works very closely with the Spurs, where Tony Parker, like the connections go on. And you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Now, were they terrible? Yeah, they're absolutely brutal. When, Chicago got Derrick Rose, the chances of them getting, I believe, was like insanely low percentage of them getting Derrick Rose, and then they get him. Cleveland, they get LeBron here. Patrick Ewing with the Knicks was another one that I believe they use as an example. The thing that just kind of makes me laugh with it is like, of all the organizations we're trying to really pump up in the NBA, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers, like that market, because it's just such a big market that we need to fill.
I mean, listen, I think you got to know, like, LeBron James, by being LeBron James and the hype he brought to the league, was going to sell $1 gazillion in jerseys no matter what team he ended up on. But if he ends up in Cleveland, everybody in Cleveland, Ohio is going to buy merch. That team's selling out, as well as selling out on the road and all that.
Untapped market.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to put the most heralded athlete in the history of Cleveland, Ohio, onto the Cleveland team. Joey B says it does go all the way back to the cold envelope conspiracy so the Knicks could get Patrick Ewing from up there on the northeast coastline. Like, on one hand, it's one of those conspiracies, Mario, that it's like, I don't believe it, but also there's just enough that I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess. And now we have the most popular, notorious, recognizable athlete maybe on the face of the planet insinuating that it's true.
Well, on top of all those things as well, is he was an 18-year-old going into the NBA that's supposed to be, is given the nickname Chosen One. What's the easiest way to kind of bring him into the association? Keep him at home, right? Like, let's not have him go to New York. Let's not have him go to Denver, go to Detroit, where it's a very unknown area where things can kind of go wrong. Like, he's still in a very controlled environment, close to family, close to friends. That's probably also played a factor in whatever this was. And look, I mean, I'm a Bulls fan. It got me Derrick Rose. It got me life. It got me joy. I'm fine with it. If this is what the NBA is doing, okay, let's do it.
That's kind of the conversation, though, because all of us watch sports to be entertained. That's why we love this. It entertains us, and we're all entertained by different aspects of it. Some of us by the stats, some of us by the execution, some of us by the feats of raw athletic power, whatever the case might be. I did a whole segment on the quadrilateral of excellence, the trapezoid of excellence earlier in the show, because I love the math nerd side of this stuff. This would be, if it is true, this would be a conspiracy that the NBA would utilize to make the game entertaining. And I would argue it's successful. Ewing as a Knick moves the needle more than Ewing as a Piston. LeBron as a Cavalier moves the needle more than LeBron as a Buck. I mean, it would be something that makes sense in the grand scheme of things to entertain us more. But at the same time, part of the entertainment for all of us is that we believe, even if we are fans of crappy small market teams, that one day we'll have a chance. One day we'll get a shot. And if you're telling me that, you've got to have a perfect storm of circumstances for the NBA to pull your envelope intentionally to give you that guy. If you're a fan of a team that's like never any good, why the hell would I watch anymore?
Yeah, I see both sides of it. But here's the thing that the NBA also tried to do, like with the lottery though, is to try to stop the tanking. Is try to stop hey, let's rest these guys the last 12 games of the year. And has it worked to the level that it should? Maybe or maybe not. I'd say, but the lottery does give variation. It gives luck. It gives not a 100% certainty that you're gonna get the first pick and you're gonna get Cooper Flag. Because of this, Rob, who would you bet of these bottom teams right now in the NBA is most likely to land Cooper Flag then, the number one pick? Which team makes the most sense for the NBA to go? You should be on this team with this market because this is untapped. This is going to help grow the game. This is going to help jersey sales because sure as hell not the Wizards. Sure as hell not the Hornets.
Why not Charlotte? He's playing in Duke. I mean,
I don't think they would do it. If LaMelo Ball, if they can't market that well, I don't think they're going to. I mean, you got Brandon Miller. If you can't get that going with that marketing, I don't know if Cooper Flag's going to really do it for you. I think Brooklyn.
I do too. I think Brooklyn, I guess I could maybe make an argument for Okay, all right, you ready? Here's my conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I have another team too after you. So
Hear me out.
let's hear it.
Dallas did what the NBA wanted, and their reward is the number one overall pick. And the Mavs get him.
That would be that's a David Stern.
If Dallas gets the number one overall pick, the conspiracy theory officially has legs in my mind.
Yeah, officially has legs.
Yeah. All right.
And
Hatin Ass Mario.
And Danny Ainge would have a panic attack. I also, last team to throw in there, Trailblazers.
That was going to be the other one I was going to say.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
I think that was going to be the other one.
Yeah, that's basketball's king there.
All right, so that was interesting. There were a couple of other clips from that interview that I saw. And again, these aren't necessarily things that I think are massively important to the NBA, the other side of it. But when LeBron says it and it gets a little heated, it's interesting. He talked about two media personalities. Number one, he talked about Stephen A. Smith, and he was like, oh, this guy's having a field day. He's probably sitting in his whitey tighties on his recliner eating ice cream, just overjoyed about the fact that I'm talking about him again. And then he went on and he talked smack about Brian Windhorst, whose entire career was built on the fact that he went to high school with LeBron James and they're best buddies. And LeBron was like, yeah, I saw Wendy on the show the other day talking like we're best friends. These bleeps are weird. I saw that and I don't really have a reaction to it other than that's interesting.
I saw it as a certain network is getting kind of what it deserves for how they've covered him majority of
That's
his
probably
career.
fair, which only makes it interesting because McAfee's show is on that certain network.
Exactly.
Which makes this more fun to me.
Well, supposedly they're at odds. I'm talking about McAfee and Stephen A. Smith. It's about who can get the most money and all that kind of stuff.
With everybody. That's his entire shtick.
I know.
I do think Stephen A. I'm happy for him. I think he's obviously incredibly talented and he deserves everything he's getting. But we shouldn't, when there's a playoff game and it's in New York, we shouldn't treat Stephen A. Smith like he's starting in the game. You know what I mean?
I really don't need the fit walkout from Stephen A. Smith. I don't.
Yeah. Just
for
to
the
tell
record,
me.
I do want to be clear about one thing, though. This whole thing between LeBron and Stephen A. Smith, I found interesting because everybody wanted to pile on LeBron. Oh, your kid's in the league. He's going to get criticized as every other player. But Stephen A. Smith was going on the whole thing about, oh, he's only in the league because of LeBron. He's only here because he's a James. And I'm like, quick, name me any other 55th overall pick that's even ever made the league, right? Just name me one. This kid, when he got a chance to actually play, when he got like a 13-minute game, he went in there for 13 points on 52% shooting with a handful of boards and assists too. The kid can play. I'm not saying he's LeBron, but the kid can play. I kind of was team LeBron on that whole thing, to be honest.
Here's where I stood with it all. It's a 55th pick. Who the hell cares? It's not like you're using the first pick. You're not using a top 10 pick. It's the 55th pick, and your best player on your team is asking for you to use it for on his son. Just say yes. Who the hell cares?
See, the three of us agree on that, and I don't know anyone who doesn't, other than certain people on TV.
Sure.
Yeah, and I do get the other, like, obviously, the last name James helps. But honestly, when does that not help in any other type of industry? If your dad is the best of the best in a certain type of industry, and you're going into that said industry, guess what? Things are going to be a little bit easier for you. It's just life. It's just the world. Like, congratulations. Some people are born with the step forward, and you're born with the step back. That's life.
I have asked people that have gotten heated about this. Name me any other draft pick 45 or below. Just name me one. Just name me one. Because if you're mad about that, you're mad about nepotism, you're mad about Bronny James getting a shot, and you believe he's only got drafted because his dad is LeBron, which, spoiler alert, no, he's a good basketball player. Name me any other pick from 45 down that you think is worse off because of Bronny. You can't do it. He in fact, I could be honest, if I'm looking at the names, I could have made an argument for Bronny James to go as high as 43, which is right behind KJ Simpson, who I would have probably picked ahead of Bronny. I think he could have picked at 43, and this would have made sense. Now, if you wanted to be mad, what you could be mad about is that maybe a bunch of teams that were drafted around 43 down, maybe they passed on drafting Bronny at a spot they thought he would have been worth value so he could fall to the Lakers. That would be fine, but then you got to prove that's what happened, and you never will.
Also, this draft class was beyond bad. It was not a good
wasn't
draft
a good class. You're right.
So it doesn't. So even if you ask any executive, like in the second round, would you draft Bronny? Honestly, if we're cutting the crap, I bet most of them would say they wouldn't. But they're like, the draft class was so bad, who cares? Like, there was no one looking going, we just found Draymond Green. No one was saying that.
Nope.
Everyone was like, these are G League guys.
Yeah.
Summer League guys.
Yeah. You're picking a bunch of G League guys hoping one of them develops into a crown jewel, right? Like that's a diamond in the rough. All right, real quick before we let you go here, Mario, got a minute or two left. Give me your Sweet 16 picks for the next couple of nights. Who we riding with?
Oh man. So obviously the BYU Alabama over 175
and a half. That's a big number, dude.
And I'm making out with it, baby. Let's go.
I don't hate it. I think it's a race to 90.
I think it is too. And I think you could get OT in this game. Like, I think it's going to be really, really tight, especially with the way Bama's been playing with their food and giving chances for teams to kind of win in every single matchup. I think that's going to be an overtime game that can kind of help you get that over. Florida, Maryland, I just kind of want to watch. I think Florida is by far the best team in the country now. I think that test against UConn was a great one, and that game looked like the whole time they were going to lose it. And the next thing you know, it's under a minute left, and they somehow pull it out and win. That shows that you're a title contender. So I'm curious how that goes. Maryland's bench is not the best, but that starting five, all averaging 12 or more points, is kind of scary. Arizona Duke's probably one of my favorite. I actually like Duke to cover, but don't tell anyone in my family. Also, if you think Arizona's going to win, Love over 17.5 points, I would take, because in the wins he has against Duke, he averages more than 20 points a game. So go ahead and take Arizona to cover if you think so, along with the Caleb Love over 17.5 points, because both those things have to happen in order for Arizona to pull out a win. He has to be Superman, and in case you guys haven't watched him play before, he thinks he's Superman. There's not a shot he doesn't love. It's like Kobe Bryant on steroids. Kobe Bryant, like before Shaq yelled at him and tried to beat him up. Then the other one I like a lot. I love Ole Miss. I love it. And I know there's things that point towards Michigan State being the best defense in the country and defending the three. Izzo. But Ole Miss is hot. Ole Miss doesn't turn the basketball over. Ole Miss is very well coached. Those three things win you in March.
And they are disruptive. Michigan State feels like a team that if you disrupt the offense, they kind of start to like back down into iso ball. I will take Ole Miss over any team who tries to make it a game full of one-on-ones.
Exactly. And, yeah. And my last thing, it's in Indiana. That crowd is going to be black and gold all around that stadium. Purdue plus 8.5. Way to really get after a very good defensive team, have dominant guard play. Brendan Allen's one of the best guards in all of college basketball. And guess where he's from? Indianapolis, baby.
I have the Purdue money line. 2-1.
Let's go.
Please and
Let's
thank
go.
you. Indianapolis, Indiana, the 16th best host city in America,
but
hosting the Sweet 16.
I'll tell you this though: the Purdue and IU fans, when they get a home game, they get after it. They're going to be in your face.
Oh, I have a thing for you. Next September 26th, I got a buddy who's getting married in Indianapolis. I'm going for the first time. I am putting everything you've ever told me to the test.
Okay.
I think it's going to be overrated as hell.
Hey, are you going to go see the Sirs?
That's still a common theme. That's still people say sirs.
Yeah, I'm sure people who think it's okay to say sirs say sirs. Shocking, I know. No,
all right.
Mario.
Go to
No.
St. Elmo's when you're there.
Stop trying to make fetch a thing, Gretchen. You don't get that reference, do you?
Nope. Right
That's
over the
Hatin
head.
Ass Mario. Mario Heron.
Yeah, I don't get it either, so we're good.
Man.
Yeah.
Mean Girls.
Sounds like it's not a good reference.
Mean Girls.
Did you think I'd get a Mean Girls reference? Did you
Yeah.
really think that?
Yeah.
I think every American should get a Mean Girls reference.
Really?
Yeah, it's a
What?
great movie. Great movie. Great movie.
I can't even tell you the cast.
Lindsay Lohan, she's amazing. Hatin' Ass Mario, Mario Heron, executive producer of BetMGM Tonight, which you can hear on this and every other fine Odyssey station from 7 to 11 p.m. nationwide. Joins us every Thursday at 9:15. Have a mediocre rest of your day, buddy.
I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day because
Thanks, buddy.
I don't hold grudges.
Back after this, the Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate. Lonzo's nickname is Colonel Grudge because he holds grudges for decades.
I'm a very patient
Dude.
man. I'm very patient.
So does my mom. My mom holds the most insane. Like we saw last time I was home one time, we saw some lady that was like from my dad's hometown. My mom goes, still hate her. I was like, damn, mom, it's been
Did you
a
get the
long ass
story?
time. She had like an old fling with my dad, I guess, when he was like 15.
Oh.
It's just, the Italian in her. I'm like, calm it down.
A little high school drama for Mama Mario.
So how many times have you seen Mean Girls? I mean, because you've seen it
Dozens. Yeah.
enough to quote it.
Dozens. It's
Yeah,
a great movie.
I had no desire at all to see that. I know of
Anybody
it.
in the chat want to back me up that Mean Girls is an all-timer? It's an all-timer. Mario, your homework is to watch Mean Girls by the time I host your show next Tuesday.
Yeah, don't do it.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, there we go. Okay,
Text
don't.
Ryan Horvat right now and ask him if he's seen Mean Girls.
Dude, I'm already in a trap where I started talking to someone and they and they keep putting on romantic film after romantic film.
It's not a romantic film.
Mean
It's
Girls?
a coming-of-age teen comedy.
Why are you watching it? When did you watch it? When you were 35?
When I was a teen.
It's not that old,
It's
is
like
it?
20 years old, man.
All right, hot take. I hate coming of age movies.
Because you haven't come of age yet.
No.
You're doing a real bad job of your protecting yourself today, buddy.
All right, 2004 is when that came out.
Yeah, so 21 years ago, that movie can legally
Just
drink.
want you to be accurate.
The movie's
Yeah.
older than Mario.
Also, coming of age, nice. You had crush on someone. It doesn't work out. You grow up. Nice.
Or there's this girl who's like your friend and you don't recognize her, and the whole movie is about you trying to get with someone else, and in the end, there she is, and she's been waiting for you the entire time.
Yeah. You never saw her until today. And you love her. Like, all right. You got a problem.
We're just gonna sit here and pretend like every genre doesn't have tropes. That's what we're gonna do here. We're not gonna talk about how 99% of superhero stories are about sacrifice.
I'm just saying.
Because every hero's got to give up somebody he loves.
And the comedy is like brutal. It's like you talking to her and then you spill a stain right over your crotch, and it's like, oh my god, like nice, dude. Creativity to the fullest.
It's like a fart. There's never gonna be a time it's not funny.
I wish there was more farting in it. There's not enough farting in film. You can clip that. There's not enough farting in film.
Probably will.
Yeah,
Probably
you go
will.
ahead, because I don't really like the
Recorded
word.
into perpetuity.
So
Thank
I'm not
you.
going to do that. Yeah.
Dylan Brooks and Gigi Jackson were both picked at 45. Honestly, I might take Bronny long term over Dylan Brooks. That guy sucks.
No,
Gigi
no.
Jackson's toss up for me.
I was going to say, who are those people?
Gigi
I bet
Jackson was from South Carolina. He's the reason
Gigi Jackson was committed to UNC until the last second. Then he went to South Carolina. I bet he'd be a first round pick if he stayed a heel.
Yeah, but I'm like LeBron. College basketball. What's going on there? I mean, you know.
Yeah, that part was funny to me. That also, by the way, then I'll leave. That was one of my favorite parts of the interview because that was a good, like, a little FU to everyone that's like, college basketball is so much better than the NBA.
Yeah, I loved it. And then they cracked on the two halves and all that stuff.
Yeah, college basketball is so pretty to watch. It's not the worst basketball you ever see when you see the 10th missed layup in a row and it kills you over. My ass.
Got a jet, buddy.
Yeah,
Love you.
go.
See ya.
See ya.
Welcome into the Fight Club, or as we have come to know it,
The Rob Brown Show daily.
No, the John Cena segment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the John Cena segment. There's other stuff to talk about, and we will, but it's the John Cena segment because it's just he puts on a masterclass every time he's on the microphone, and this is no different. Although John Cena in the latest promo from Monday Night Raw, he went somewhere where you're not supposed to go. He went to the forbidden territory. He went somewhere where people don't talk about it. They don't say it. He didn't say the name, but he wooed. He talked about limousine riding. He talked about jet flying. And
He did say the name.
Did he say Ric Flair?
He said Ric Flair.
Maybe I missed that part. Wow.
Yeah, he
I was
said
just
his name.
I just sit there like, oh, really? Because I would guess that's taboo, that you don't really talk about that. I was so happy that he did that. I mean, because he is each week finding a way to show heels how to be a real heel. I mean, this is how you do it. And also how to work a crowd. He's still one of the best of all time at working a crowd. And it's really, really good. The fact that he said he's going to win the championship and then he's taking it home. He brought up the spinner belt and how people complained. They said it was too much like a toy. And then
No. What he said was, and I love this. I loved it. He said, I took the most prestigious thing in wrestling. That championship belt is supposed to be an icon of everything that is great, historic, perfect about wrestling. And I turned it into a toy, and you losers ate it up. He said, you guys loved that belt, and I made it a gimmick. I made it a toy, and you cared more about the toy than you cared about the history and the legacy of that belt. And here's the thing. He's right again. That's why this heel run's incredible. He's right again.
But here's the thing. He's already the greatest champion in the history of WWE. We've had this argument before. He is. All his championships have happened in WWE, whereas Ric Flair has had championships in other places. John Cena's only been there for his championships, unless, I don't know if he won. He was in FCW, which is still technically WWE.
I never have. I don't feel crazy compelled to like compare the great champions of all time.
Voice. I'm getting
like
voice.
No,
Jeez.
I don't feel compelled to compare. I don't feel compelled.
By the way, that's your normal voice. The thing you just did there.
I don't feel compelled to debate the legacy of the great championships of bygone eras. I don't. To me, there's a reason Ric Flair is what Ric Flair is. There's a reason John Cena is what John Cena is. I never liked him as a face. I thought he was boring. I thought he overacted, whatever. I love him as a heel because he's taken all those things that people loved about him. And you got to stop. I'm about to sue you for slander. All right? That's not true.
Has that ever been done? I wonder, two people on a radio show.
I know, you keep saying that. We're going to find out. We're going to find out.
At least you didn't threaten to fight me, because that would have been so much like a couple years ago.
No, I'm not doing that. The 40-year streak of not getting punched in the face, I'd like to keep intact.
Tell me I'm going to bleep and do what you say and act like you're going to come across the board. Do that.
I think that the reason this heel turn, I said this on Tuesday night on BetMGM tonight because I made them talk about wrestling. Oh, I forgot to ask Mario about that. The reason this is so compelling is because the points that he's making more than the points when he was the face and he's like, I know if you just keep grinding with hustle, loyalty, and respect, you'll always win. It's like, no, you won't, buddy. The real world doesn't work that way. There's a lot of times you can do everything right and work as hard as you want, and you just can't do a thing. That's the real world.
Sounds
you live
like
in a
some
fairy
people's
tale.
radio careers.
Sure. I have grinded and grinded and grinded and grinded and put in the work and done plenty of 8 and 12-hour broadcasting days also that I've become the #1 sports talk radio host in New Orleans, Louisiana. It still hadn't happened. I'm not saying it never will. I'm saying I've been at it for 17 years and I haven't gotten it there.
I was talking about me, but,
I know you were.
That's okay.
But I make everything about me because that's the ego.
I know.
The point here is all that stuff, the reason I like it is because the super goody two-shoes, everything's always great as long as you work hard, kids. Like, that's not how the real world works. The stuff he's saying now as a heel is. He did take a legacy belt, a belt that has gotten years and years and years of the greatest champions of this art form that we love attached to it, and he put a spinner on the front and made it a toy, and it was the highest-selling belt of all time. He's right. It's great.
He's also money. And he's been money. Once he got going, he's been money. He's a guy who's the greatest champion of all time. I know you said, is it Flair, is it Cena, or is it Roman Reigns? Because, during the Bloodline run, they made a point to point out that Roman Reigns, the longest reigning champion, all that kind of stuff.
The answer is either Flair or Cena, and I think you're going to find two things. Number one, I think you're going to find a generational divide. I think you're going to find more often than not, the older the person you're talking to, the more they're going to say Ric Flair, with some who say Cena, and the younger the people are, they're going to say John Cena, with some who are going to say Ric Flair. I'm not, again, I don't necessarily feel the need to compare and contrast the two of them. Maybe
someone would say like Harley Race or something.
Sure,
like
and you may find some real old guys that are going to throw like the old territorial champs in there, and that's
Bruno
fine.
Sammartino is better than any of these
One
guys.
of the GOATs of all time, for sure. There are probably some classics that you will see, but I think the answer is ordinarily going to come down to one of these two guys. Here's the reality. The reason I think that is true is because John Cena was a wrestler who was crafted to be sold to the children of wrestling fans to give them a super positive, this is the guy you look up to thing. And for 20 years, that was the character he portrayed. So a heel turn, it's not just a heel turn, it's a heel turn away from 20 years of being the guy that a parent would hand design to be their kid's role model into this guy who's insulting kids versus Ric Flair, who was the exact opposite. He's the guy you'd hand design and go, don't ever try to be like that guy. Don't try to be that guy.
Flair said he's going to be there. And could you do me a favor? Could you put that down? Because you'd be really mad if you're being really animated if you drop the tablet of truth.
I own this, so I'm
going
to be very careful with mine.
I'm trying to help you look out for you. That's all. All right. The next thing is Stephanie McCourt is not only is she double champ, she defended on NXT. I still say one of the best wrestling shows out there right now, NXT, twice Tuesday. She's double champ, and she actually defended the belt twice, as they pointed out. It's never been done defensive-wise.
Here's the thing.
And I know Julia apparently not only could be hurt, but is having visa problems.
I have one and only one major issue that is starting to become more resolved consistently. More consistently for WWE. This company refuses to acknowledge its own history, good, bad, ugly, and different. Mandy Rose was double champ and did defend those two belts multiple times.
Well,
so that whole she's the first and she's the first to defend, that's not true.
That's been refuted because one of those belts was dissolved. And it was.
That's fine, but she held him and she defended him. So that's not true.
I've interviewed Mandy Rose before.
Again, I'm defending Mandy Rose.
And she's not. No, it's Stephanie McCourt.
Listen, I love Stephanie McCourt. Clearly, I got my reasons for doing so. Okay.
I hate you that you can do that and I can't do that.
And number two.
If you roll your R's, you're my enemy. Anyone listening right now, if you can roll your R's, we're enemies.
I roll my R's for a reason with Stephanie McCourt. Okay? I'm a fan for obvious reasons, as is Booker T. But
Chilean women, I didn't know. But now I know.
The things she's doing are things that Mandy Rose did. They just don't want to talk about Mandy Rose because of what Mandy Rose decided to do as a
much
career
better wrestler
instead.
than Mandy Rose.
I don't disagree with you, but it doesn't diminish the fact that that happened and they refuse to. They're like pretending that it doesn't. That being said, homegirl can go. Just go ahead and put her on the main roster now because they need it.
All right.
Just send her up now.
No, I completely agree. All right. Speaking of agreeance, we haven't really been in agreeance on hardly anything today except for cereal. And so I'm sure we both will absolutely agree on this next thing. El Grande Americano should be celebrated as a hero. I mean, He was an American luchador. He went away for a while. He disappeared because of controversy. He's come back. He's come back stronger, and he's an amazing wrestler. Got a victory over Dragon Lee on Monday night, and because Chad Gable, turns out, I don't know why they have anything to do with each other, but Chad Gable was sick and could
He had a
compete.
doctor's note.
Yeah, he did.
For sure.
So El Grande Americano is Rey Mysterio. It's him. Maybe a couple other luchas that are my favorite of all time, but he's got a chance to be my favorite lucha of all time.
The guy's been wrestling in the territories around the Gulf of America since the 1980s.
I can't believe they found that footage. It was
it's
really good
unbelievable.
footage.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. They were able to find footage of the Gulf of America maps from back in the 1700s. It's pretty spectacular, to be honest with you. Like, what a deep dive through history to find that. But I will say this. I very clearly and definitely remember seeing El Grande Americano like a lot of years ago as a young man. Like, I very much remember seeing
I think
him.
I saw him in Pickens one time during the downtime.
Yeah, I saw him at a
local
couple
show.
of regional territory shows down in Pensacola back when I was a kid. A Grande Americano, like just an absolute legend in the luchador game. Absolutely impeccable, untouchable, elite history, and I look forward to seeing his illustrious history continue on this WWE run, to the point that, honestly, I think Chad Gable should manage him. I think you should send them both out to the ring at the same time. I think you should send him and Gable out. Let Gable kind of show him the ropes of top-notch corporate wrestling while he continues to be the incredible luchador that he is. If you send both those guys out to the ring at the same time, I think you'd have an untouchable team.
I agree with you.
Two definitely different guys that could work really well together.
All right, a couple other things really quick. Ray Phoenix and Aleister Black are returning. I'm going to go with Aleister because I'm guessing he'll come back as Aleister Black to the WWE. Also rumors, Paige is done with AEW. Miro is done with AEW, that they may be coming back. Is this too much, and will this filter into TNA? Because that's my theory, is that some of these guys will filter and girls will filter into TNA.
Well, I think you kind of have a three-tier system now. I think like TNA is the training ground for NXT, is the training ground for WWE, and you have TNA and NXT that kind of work with each other for some like spring training style games before you send people up. But here's the thing, all the guys that you just mentioned, all the guys and gals that you just mentioned, they're all longtime vets. We're not talking about like somebody who like cut his teeth in AEW and is young and needs to be groomed. These are all people who were in. Rusev had the best WrestleMania entrance of all time. He came in on a tank. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen, right? This guy gets it. He's a showman. He understands. Malachi Black, a.k.a. Aleister Black, when he came up on the like rising grave thing amongst the candles, as a metalhead, that's one of my favorite wrestling intros, like just show-to-show intros of all time. All these people have all of that experience. They could all go right up to the top. My question is, where do they fit in with everything right now? Because my problem isn't they're moving from AEW to WWE. There are some people who are going to fit better with the WWE style, and like Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland going to AEW is the greatest thing that's ever happened to his career. Could he come back and bring that character to WWE and succeed? I don't know is the answer.
Well, he's already got beef with Booker T, so I don't know.
Absolutely.
Booker T got a lot of pull.
Absolutely.
So.
I don't know is the answer. What I do know is this. There is a saturation point for WWE. With as many hours of weekly program as they have, there is a saturation point where you go, as good as you are, we can't fit anybody else, because you also, and this is the part that it's for wrestling fans, it's kind of hard to understand. You always have to leave space on the main roster for your next crop of superstars to have their chance, or else you don't get a Braun Breaker, who, by the way, is wildly entertaining right now. You don't get those guys. So there's a saturation point, and I do get concerned that with AEW struggling the way it is and all these guys and gals wanting to come back and move back over, there comes a point where even the WWE has to go, we don't have the room anymore.
Okay, one last thing before we go to break. Monday at 1 p.m., we are going to be interviewing my favorite wrestler of all time, and that would be Sting. We'll be playing it back on Tuesday. My son asked me yesterday, are you nervous? It's like, I'm starting to get there. I am starting to get there. This is one of those where you think, all right, if I ever had a chance in my life, I'm sure Rob has a list, I have a list of people that and interviewing terrifies me, but if I ever had a chance to talk to this person, this guy is near the top of the list for me. So I cannot wait till Monday. And, dude, we're going to get to interview Sting.
Yeah.
I'm very nervous about
Absolute
that.
icon, one of, we talked about greatest champs ever. I'm going to say this. if we put together the Mount Rushmore of influential wrestlers, I'm talking wrestlers who kind of went past the world of wrestling and became household. Sting's on that list. I would say Hogan's on that list, as much as I don't like him. Hogan's on that list. I would say Flair is on that list. There are some guys that are super, like, I don't think Bret Hart's on that list. As good as he was, I don't think he's on that list. I think Undertaker's on that list, and I think Sting's on that list, honestly. One of the greatest of all time. We will interview Sting Monday afternoon, and fingers crossed, be able to play that back for you on Tuesday. Stick around. Texter said, no, y'all both wrong. Goldberg is the greatest of all time. No.
Did he say Gilbert? Maybe you read it wrong.
Back after this, wrapping up the Rob Brown Show next on the Fan Upstate.
You see.
All right, guys, quick read. Coming right back. Stay right there for me. right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob the Great One, Lonzo, and you. You know what? I've just been calling people out on the show today, so why not keep it up?
Oh, no. Whatever that thing you didn't take this morning, take it tomorrow, okay?
Lonzo, I'm going to do one more call out, and I think that it is a call out that you will agree with me on. I'm not even going to set it up. I'm just going to play the audio.
That man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately. That man.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard, I think. Oh, by the way, ESPN big time. Even I saw earlier their morning show. I forget who it is now. Are all defending what a great guy Stephen A. Smith is and all this stuff. It's like, why are you defending all that? I mean, LeBron destroyed him. He did, and now that so his immediate thing is, well, I would have fought him. That's how it comes back. Can't nobody believe you would throw a punch on LeBron James.
Okay, let me get into some stuff here. Number one, I've been in this game for 17 years. And while some people's style of broadcasting I actively, internally, personally dislike, 92.5% of the time, I don't directly call it out until you become a liar. I will call that out. Some people don't like that. Some people will start beef with me. But when you actively become a liar, that's where you get the call out. If you are massaging the truth, or maybe getting into deep speculation and labeling it as such, I don't love it, but okay. It's when you say, this is a thing that definitely happened. And it's like, is it, or is it just something you're saying definitely happened so you can get a bunch of attention on the internet? That's where you lose me. I'm not a Stephen A. Smith guy. And my reasoning for why is, respectfully, I don't think Stephen A. Smith is like a particularly bright sports mind. Neither am I, for the record. I understand. I know ball, and I know that's kind of been the running gag on the show for a very long time. But, like, I don't claim to be a wizard. I don't claim to be able to look and see things that a lot of people don't see. I just have a lot of time to watch and analyze. I have more time to evaluate and learn and recognize than most normal people do. That's why I know ball. Steven, I don't think it's a particularly bright mind when it comes to, and I know that sounds bad, but again, I'm not a particularly bright mind. Like, there are people who, I've got the only comparison I can give you, the lead singer in my band, Great One, is one of these guys that can, like, listen to a song and then just play it, right, on a guitar. I hate that guy.
Yeah, I hate that guy, but I also love that guy.
He's my best friend in the world.
I mean, if he's in your band, you also love that guy.
Hate that guy. Love that guy. He's my best friend in the world, and I hate him because he can just listen to a song and play it. There are some people that are like that with sports. They are savant. They are able to listen, or they're able to watch a sport, and they're able to immediately go, here's what they're doing, here's the scheme, here's the taxes, X's, O's, whatever. Whereas I got to watch film. I got to watch a game a time, 2, 3 times. I got to take notes. If you come over to the house tonight, you will find tomorrow when I come in here, the tablet of truth will have a scrolling amount of notes from the Final Four or Sweet 16 games tonight, so I can talk about them tomorrow. Same on Saturday, same on et cetera, et cetera. I don't think Stephen A. Smith necessarily does all that. I think he just kind of has hot takes, and then he makes himself the center of attention. And again, he's built a career on which he has the access to do that. I don't fault him for that. Stephen A. Smith is the definition of hate the game, not the player. I don't like the game. That game, that element of the game bothers me. To me, and I've said this before, it's not new, that kind of sports broadcasting is wildly frustrating to me because it keeps a lot of people who are entertaining and no ball down. They can't surpass that. But at the same time, as I have said, y'all click on it. Y'all watch it. Y'all listen to it. Y'all follow it. And if that's what America wants, that's what America gets. Every time I get on the internet and I see people complaining about the decline of ESPN, the fact that we used to wake up in the morning and we would all of us put on Sports Center and we would watch 30 minutes of Sports Center while we were getting ready for school, getting ready for work, whatever. And now when you wake up and tune it on, what do you have? Any given minute, you have 3 people and a camera fighting with each other about whatever. Discuss and debate. I want Sports Center back, but I also tell people, we as Americans FAFO'd, all right? We started allowing the debate thing to be the thing that we follow the most, and it gave rise to people like Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, et cetera, et cetera. All of that aside, Stephen A. Smith dropping that line.
That man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him.
Listen, for the record,
You know those things where they put the hand, the taller guy puts his hand on the guy's head and the guy's just swinging away.
LeBron James is not dumb. He's not going to walk over and put his hands on Stephen A. Smith. He doesn't need to. He doesn't have to. There's no reason for him to do that because he knows he would beat Stephen A. Smith's ass. This is the definition of when your little buddy friend, of which I've got a couple, and I don't mean to be mean when I call them that, but why is it always them that want to take their shirt off and fight first in the bar? You're like, dude, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah, there's one of those in
And
every,
I'm not helping you.
One of those in every group. A couple groups growing up, and there was always that guy.
It's always that guy. Stephen A. Smith, if LeBron put his hands on you, you would not have the time to swing at him. It would be the old 2 hits. He hits you, you hit floor. There would be no time for you to swing on a 40-year-old athlete who looks like he's 26, who is jacked beyond belief. And Pat McAfee believes probably spends $10 million a year being the prototype of health. The man's sculpted like a Greek god, Steven. I've seen you throw punches, bud. Relax.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
I also just want to say LeBron's probably got a couple guys in the crowd wherever he goes. You throw a punch, those guys are probably taking you out.
Dude, LeBron James probably had 15 people within 10 feet of Stephen A. Smith, all undercover, that were all like,
yeah.
Steven, do it, Steven. Do it, Steven. Do it.
I've always wanted to punch that guy. James says, better hold me back. Yeah, it's that guy. Better hold me back. All right, the first thing that's Xing is nose wipe.
So, CeeDee Lamb, over the past couple of years, has developed this touchdown celebration that he does where he, we're going to say wipes his nose. Now, it insinuates a certain thing. And if you don't know what that thing is, good, kids, stay in school, okay? The NFL is looking at potentially banning that celebration. Obviously, it wouldn't be the first celebration.
They did.
Did they officially do it?
I believe they did, yeah. I don't think I've seen it. CeeDee Lamb plays for Dallas, right?
He does.
That's probably why I've never seen it.
He does.
That's probably why. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Halle Berry.
Halle Berry said, did she have her name on a chair yesterday?
No, and that's why she's Xing.
I am simply going to say, when I was like 27, I saw Swordfish. Halle Berry, go to war. We'd send out. She was Helen of Troy.
She also does. She doesn't age really.
She doesn't.
She
doesn't. She is the definition of black don't crack. That woman is beautiful.
I think the last movie that I saw that she was in was probably the John Wick one she was in. She was amazing.
I don't think she has to do movies anymore. All of that being said, Halle Berry played Storm in the old sequence of X-Men movies. They have brought back a lot of the original actors. I think Kelsey Grammer's name was on a chair too, if I recall correctly.
Well, yeah, he is.
He played Beast.
But Robert has said that they're not done yet. So maybe there's another video of a bunch of chairs.
Halle Berry, please come back. Are you kidding me?
Because Chris Pratt wasn't on there. Spider-Man wasn't on there. I mean, there's some. I mean,
there was also a little bit of controversy because all of the Thunderbolts were on there, except there was one name that was missing, and it's like, oh, so you've just told us who lives and dies in the Thunderbolts movie.
Yeah, it was what's her name, the one from Black Widow.
Taskmaster. Well, knockoff dollar store Taskmaster.
Yeah, it was her.
Which I'm interested in because obviously,
I'm still going to go see Thunderbolts anyway.
100%.
It doesn't matter.
100%. I'm more excited about Thunderbolts than I've been for anything that Marvel's done probably since Endgame. Are you kidding me? I can't wait.
All right.
David Harbour's amazing.
Yeah, I love David Harbour. Someone who's going to be at South Carolina Comic-Con April 5th and 6th.
Sting!
No, but he is going to be there. But only on the 6th. Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh, I don't know why he's trending, but if he is trending, it means we are about to get something incredible with another incredible bad guy.
Oh, dude, you're going to like this. It's all over the place. He wants to play Mr. Freeze.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please, Mr. All right, listen, don't get me wrong. We all, America as a whole, we all have a soft spot in our heart for Arnold's Mr. Freeze. Tonight's forecast A deep freeze. We all have a soft spot for that. But if you're an OG Batman fan, you know
One
that
of your
Victor.
best ones, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Really good.
Victor Freeze is meant to be a very melancholy, sad, depressed. He's fighting to save his wife. That's the whole premise behind the character. Esposito would make that character terrifying, and I'm here for it.
All right.
Here for it.
All right. One last thing, other than Wendy. I just want to say that again. It's so funny. The Ark
LeBron
of,
was cooking yesterday.
the Ark of the Covenant.
I got no idea. Just tell me.
According to reports, the CIA knows where the Ark Covenant is, and they've known for a very long time, and there are actually pictures. And whether you believe what it supposedly does, it doesn't mean that the actual thing doesn't exist, and apparently it does. Oh, stop all your skepticism.
Skepticism.
Oh, you're being skeptical about the CIA. I get it.
No, I'm being skeptical about. By the way, the whole underground chambers under the pyramids thing we were talking about a week ago, InfoWars. It's InfoWars losers getting attention. InfoWars are losers. I said what I said.
Okay, whatever, dude.
These guys are just weird.
Thanks, Brian. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow, maybe, if I don't get fired, to do it all over again, but better. For Lonzo, I'm Rob. See you back here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
I've heard some complaints, and they want me to apologize. That's not going to happen.
Speaking of which, I was going to suggest that your apology list for today would be
For today.
If I have offended anyone from the program,
That's what I should
yesterday,
start doing. The last gimmick on the show from this point forward should be an end of show Rob's apology list. Who are the people I need to apologize today? Alex Guest wife. InfoWars. Because Alex Jones, Kane, I love you, dog. Alex Jones is a lunatic. No, he's not. That's why he's out billions of dollars for lying on the air all the time. Sorry, that's just the facts. Who else do I have to
It's
apologize
amazing how you
to?
get excited about that stuff, political stuff.
Because he's an influence on people's brains in the most
And by the way,
negative way.
the Giza stuff is real.
No, the chambers are real.
Yeah.
But
the
all
Giza
the other
stuff
stuff
is
that's
real.
come along with them, that's been documented since 2014. This isn't a new discovery or revelation.
The tube thing is a new revelation because a new paper was just put out.
Paper where they first found it and documented it, and they have a good idea of what's down there. And
This
it's
is
not
this
a
is
battery.
what's called misinformation put out by the aliens. So you think, oh, it's those people we don't like because of politics, when in truth, someone actually made a discovery and then it'll go away. That's how they fooled us throughout all of humanity.
I read the original paper of the discovery.
See?
I read it.
Really?
It's available
You were-
for you for free on Google Scholar.
You were there
Go
when
look
they,
it up.
you were there when they wrote it. Didn't nobody know what the
we're
heck?
gonna go with the "Were you there?" argument because I got a lot.
By the way,
I got a lot.
By the way, again, who the heck has ever went on Google Scholar and what is it?
It is where peer-reviewed research lives. Peer-reviewed.
What does fishing have to
Meaning
do
you
with
don't get
this?
to just say a thing. You don't just get to say
I don't
a
think
thing.
you caught what I did there. I thought it was pretty funny.
Kane, the Sandy Hook story, the whole Sandy Hook story. He literally had his business taken away.
All right.
because
By the way, can we get off the politics? Okay. Can we get off the politics?
That's not politics.
When you start talking
pop culture.
wars, that's politics. It is politics.
So okay then. So Alex Jones is political. Just so we're clear. I gotta know. I gotta know where my lines are.
As he is associated with a certain side, and you have anger and emotion and glee when it comes to the person's supposed downfall
Yes.
because of your political side.
No.
No. Okay. Well,
No. I have a certain glee when bad people go away.
people that you've never met before,
For the
so you
record,
don't know if they're really bad
I
people
like
or not.
The other weird late night aliens and ghost show. I like it a lot. I listen to it regularly when I'm awake that way. I like it. There's a difference.
Wow, won't even promote the show
still
or
love
the
you too,
station
Kane.
that it's on.
You are still P1, Kane. I love you. This is what I was talking about
Get your negative propaganda out of here.
This is what I was talking about yesterday. I can absolutely butt heads with you about stuff like this that I feel is drastically important to these great United States of ours and still drink a beer with you. No problem. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to end a friendship over it. Now, you start getting to the point where you're like being openly racist, xenophobic, transphobic, whatever. Now, like, we got to have a discussion as people to people about where that's coming from, et cetera. But if it's just, I like Alex Jones and I think he's a loser, I can still have a beer with you after that. The same as if you said I don't like LeBron and I love LeBron. I'll still have a beer with you, even though you're wrong about LeBron. So, Kane, we'll get a beer one day. Book it. All right, that's it for us. Thanks for being here. Way to end the show on a positive. Have a look.
Yeah,
My mother said, aren't you being hypocritical? Don't you guys debate on the show. It's not the same, Granda. It's not the same.
Hey, don't be mean to your mom.
I'm not.
Dude, that's disrespectful.
Look at the hair today. It's falling nice. Falling nice. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.